kids, it's time to sit because Battleground Casual is on. Here's Aaron or Matt.
Thank you again to Adele for making that song. Adele and Taylor Swift. What a
Is
combo,
that
man.
Adele from the Vegas show? Is that what we
Yeah.
got?
It's just a great combo. Just a great combo.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to whatever the fuck this is. This is Battleground Casual here on TMG Entertainment, the show where we discuss movies, not debate them. My name is Aaron Knoll. I am, of course, joined by my co-host, Matt Beer. Matt, how you doing this week?
I'm doing good. You know, it's been a pretty fun week outside of some personal things, but I am eating olives, so that's good.
All right. And joining us as well, we have two guys with us tonight. Bit of a smaller show, but we have a lot of movies to talk about, so a smaller show is not a bad thing. We are joined by Austin. Hal is with us. Austin, how's it going?
I'm good. Yeah, it's not a debate show, but I'm always kind of secretly hoping it turns into a spontaneous one every time I'm on.
You just want the fight. That's all it is.
You know, life is about fighting, man. You know, it just is.
And joining us as well is Madi or Raymond. Madi, welcome.
How you guys doing, man? It's good to be back.
Good. All right. So before we get into this, of course, I wanted to just throw out a couple of house cleaning things here. Of course, this is the first show that we've done in about 2 weeks. We had to take the last couple of weeks off just due to last-minute scheduling issues and complications. I'm not assuming anybody actively missed us, but people have been watching the show, so I appreciate that anyways. It's also been a couple of weeks since the last movie Battleground match went up. If you go to the Facebook pages, TMG Entertainment or TMG Trivia, there will be more in that coming either tomorrow or Monday in a post that'll go up. But essentially, the short of it is I had a intense issue arise at one of my jobs in correlation, or not correlation, just at the same time as I had my finals in my college courses. And as much as I love this league and I love you guys, when shit's going to hell and I have to pass tests, I don't fucking care about movie Battleground. So not a lot got done over the last few weeks. What I can say for certain, though, is that the relaunching with new uploads on Monday, May 15th. And for the first few weeks into the summer, because we now do have a backlog of matches, because we didn't end recording during that period, it just slowed down. We're going to be doing 3 matches a week just to sort of catch people up. If you had a match that was supposed to be set up at the beginning of May, because I know I told some people you'd get a match in early May, that's going to be pushed until either later this month or early June in conjunction with some of the other matches that were getting set up then, just because we had roughly about 15 or so matches at various stages of production when my issues arose. So I want to make sure we get through all of those first, and then we'll start setting up matches. So that's just the cleanup there behind the scenes, just to give everybody an idea of what's going on there. I appreciate everyone, first off, with the patience on that, especially if you're in a match that's had a little bit of an issue here or there. I appreciate it. But other than that, let's now jump into the discussion, which tonight, of course, the bulk of the show is going to be focused on the 2023 summer movie season, which is upon us this week with the release of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. But first, last Tuesday, a very, very important thing took place in Hollywood, which is the second major writer strike from the Writers Guild of America this century. Of course, everyone will remember about 15 years ago in 2007 and 2008, there was a writer strike. This time, specifically, the writer strike is in connection to streaming and specifically named in the actual complainant from the WGA, Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, Paramount Plus, Apple TV Plus, Max, Peacock. Am I missing any major ones, guys? I think I got them all.
Are they seriously sticking with the name Max?
Yes.
Yeah, it's
Fucking
Max.
hell.
It's just Max.
You know, Cinemax exists,
Yeah,
right? Like
Skinemax.
HBO Max was perfectly fine. Everybody's used to that. It's fine.
No one was going there, but HBO Max is a terrible name for.
Yeah, like everyone was like, "That's fine." At least it's not HBO Plus. You know, they had something different at least.
Jesus.
David Zaslav has about one bad business decision for every 2 good ones he makes, but the bad ones stand out more. So that's why we all know Batgirl got canceled, and this streaming service is called Max.
I you guys know me. I actually think this is probably the first or second mistake he's made. You know, if you wanted to change the name, I got a great name. HBO. Just call it HBO. Why are we calling it
HBO does
Max?
still
Fucking
exist.
concept.
That's where Sesame Street airs, and I
Okay,
guess some other
Max,
shows.
as far as I'm aware of, is a film reviewer. Okay, why are we calling it Max? Just call it HBO.
Just call it HBO and some other shit.
Yeah, HBO plus
That'd
You-
be
plus
a,
you could
that'd be a
plus.
just-
better name than Max, honestly.
You could just
HBO and
do
some
what
other
you,
shit.
you could just do what Paramount's done, which is Paramount. So Viacom has taken over full control of. I want to say it's actually I think it might actually be it's either Cinemax or Showtime. I think it's Showtime.
Mhm.
They took full control over, and they
Mhm.
folded it into a tier on Paramount Plus. So now it's called, and that tier is literally just called Paramount Plus with Showtime. And it's like,
Well, that's what I have right now because they immediately sent me an email and said, "Hey, do you want to add Showtime on your thing?" Which I actually did because it actually came out to I pay for it yearly. Came out to like an extra $1 a month right now.
oh, it's not that bad actually.
So like,
not bad at all.
okay, why not? Because it literally came out to like $17 extra for like on my yearly plan, anyways, for Paramount. So I was like, all right, sure. Like, how
That's
many
not
times
bad.
am I going to watch it?
That's
Probably not that much, but I'm sure it adds a few extra movies on there. You know, whatever.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I had Showtime on Amazon for a year through like Amazon Prime because there was a
Mhm.
promotion 2 years ago where it was like for a year it was $1 a month. And it's
Yeah.
like, look, did I watch that many extra films through having that access? No, not really, but it got me through my film history college course and
Sure.
it gave me enough value for $12 in a year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, so all those streaming services were named as a part of the complaint for the strike, and apparently what the complaint is about is with the uprise of streaming services and the fact that the streaming services aren't really replacing anything, because as we've seen, studios' attempts to sort of dive more into streaming services haven't quite worked. They work as a supplemental thing to the industry, not as a replacement for the industry. We still have network television, we still have cable television, we still have the theatrical exhibition. And
Mhm.
so there has been an upmark in writers' jobs, which is obviously a good thing. But with that upmark in jobs also comes an upmark for demand. People want more things to consume. They want them to remain at a consistent quality. And the payment towards writers has not increased to reflect the demand that there is for a writer, especially with the high elevation of television shows. And other examples include like Disney, for example, all their big franchises, Marvel, Star Wars, are now producing television content that wasn't there 3 years ago. That demands a lot of writers to be a part of this writer staff to develop the high quality content that people want. And that also comes with now an elevated level of backlash, because with the internet, it's easier than ever to get at somebody if you don't enjoy the work that they've produced for whatever reason. And so there's just a lot that goes into this. And writers, once again, for the first time in 15 years, have reached a point where they feel that they are not being properly compensated. And so as of Tuesday, May 2nd, the industry has gone on a strike. So what does that mean? It means that at the moment, no writer that is a part of the Writers Guild of America, which often, when talking about television, includes the showrunners of those shows because they are often WGA members, are continuing to produce content. And I actually have a long list of things that have already been affected by it. So for a fact, Marvel has already confirmed that Blade has had to delay its production. It was supposed to enter production sometime this summer, either late June or early July, but they were in the process of doing a final draft of the script written by True Detective writer Nick Pizzolatto. He did not finish before the strike began, so that movie is now on hold. Dan Harmon has confirmed that the Community film they are making is on hold. If you're a fan of late night TV, all of them, The Daily Show, Jimmy Kimmel, Last Week Tonight, Late Night with Seth Meyers, Colbert, Jimmy Fallon, those are all on hold as they are actively written shows, as is SNL. If you're still a fan of SNL, that is on hold. In terms of television shows, like series television shows, hit comedies like Abbott Elementary and Big Mouth are on hold. Dramas like Cobra Kai's last final season is on hold. Stranger Things is on hold. Season 3 of the hit Showtime show Yellow Jackets is currently on hold because of this strike. More productions, and that's just the bare bones, bottom of the barrel. There have been more good stories than bad, and even productions that are still continuing. There is rise of concern for them. For example, James Gunn handed in what is now more than likely going to be the final draft of Superman Legacy a day before the writer's strike began. However, because he is a WGA member, while he can move forward working as director, he cannot make rewrites to the script as a part of this strike. Another example is House of the Dragon, or not House of the Dragon season 2, excuse me, the Rings of Power season 2, the other big fantasy show, which was in the
House
middle
of the Dragon.
Season 2. They're not
House of the
finished.
Dragon's the one. I was gonna say House of the Dragon they're moving forward. Like they got all the
Well,
scripts
so
done.
the one that I saw was I just confused the name. So Rings of Power season 2 is not finished filming yet. They are actually continuing to film, but all the writers, including the showrunners, have exited the set, meaning they will not be involved with the remainder of the season. Now, apparently, all the scripts themselves have finished, but it means that the actual showrunners that took over the show, and this is a reminder, they only took over at the start of this season. They were not the same showrunners from season 1. They are now off the set, and it's simply the directors and the actual studio level producers that are handling the completion of this production. People will also remember, if you go back to 2008 and 2009, the vast amount of using blockbuster cinema, because we're talking about the summer movie season, there were a lot of shitty blockbusters that came out because of affects to the scripts as handled by the writer's strike back then. People will remember X-Men Origins came out following the writer's strike. Transformers Revenge of the Fallen, which due to its success actually altered the course of the Transformers franchise, and they all became like that film following it. You want to talk about G.I. Joe, The Rise of Cobra, which of course was a film a lot of people were looking forward to bring G.I. Joe to the screen. That movie's screenplay got affected. And there's so many more if you do the research.
Quantum of Solace. Quantum of Solace was one that Daniel Craig had to like work on some of the writing on set as they were filming too, since he wasn't a part of the WGA.
I believe Iron Man was also part of that. The script wasn't, obviously the script wasn't finished when it went to production, but it meant that the people on set writing the script as they were shooting were like untrained screenwriters to an extent that were sort of making this up as they went along because the WGA couldn't pitch in and help. And so the history
that's the
is
only
shown
one that
if this goes on long enough, and obviously that turned out to be good, but the point is history has shown that if this goes on long enough, not only will it have an adverse effect on the film industry, it will also have an adverse effect on the quality of the content that is being released. And the issue with that is in an era compared to 2007 where people have more reach to these writers than ever to basically abuse them if they don't like their content. Now we're going to be in an issue where if this isn't resolved, there's going to be a lot more fallout from it than I think there was before because of social media's existence. And it sounds douchey, but I'm just going to say it. The average person thinks they know more about how things are made than they did before, but the truth is they don't. They just think they do because they can go on social media and speak their opinion. So this is only going to get worse from here if this is not resolved quick enough. For what it's worth, the studios did come together, the streaming services did come together and respond with an offer. However, they countered basically every condition that the WGA put out with some sort of lesser offer. And that was if they countered some of the things that the WGA wanted, they just said no with no counter for. So clearly they're playing hardball on negotiations. So Matt, obviously you're showing some vocal support there. I'm sure you've done a little bit of research into this yourself as you usually do with these types of topics. What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, it's simple. Give the writers what they deserve, and this is not the only union that they're gonna have to go, studios are gonna have to go and sit at the table and negotiate with, because the SAG, they're getting ready to do their negotiations. The directors, I can't remember what the directors one is called, but they're going to go in. Yeah, DJ. I was thinking Directors Guild. I was like, no, that can't be it. That's too similar to Writers Guild. But they're all going to come in and they're all going to negotiate. So even if this whole thing gets stalled with the Writers Guild, you still got those. And there's no guarantee that they're going to get something done with the actors and the directors. I'm sure they're going to want to have something to where they're going to be reasonably compensated for the streaming stuff. Because remember, with Black Widow, when they were going to put that on Disney Plus only, Scarlett Johansson was not happy because in her contract, she was going to get a certain percentage of the theater, theater box office. So, and they didn't have anything about streaming. So there was that. So it's going to be a big mess. I just think it's simple. Look, you want more content, You want high quality content, pay more money. It's that simple. Look, the writers, they're not asking for anything unreasonable. It's all very reasonable, in my opinion. I mean, I saw an article that came out a couple days ago, I think it was on Deadline, that studios, because of this writer strike, they're looking at AI to work on scripts. And then they're going to have the writers come in when this is all done to do touch ups.
Yes.
That's just going to screw with things even more because the writers are going to see that, be like, what the fuck? Why are we having AI do our job?
Which I don't have it in front of me because I figured it's a waste of our time to just sit here reading out a documented list of demands. Essentially, you can go find it though. It is public. What the WGA asked for, it was made public. One of the discrepancies in there was the WGA asked for protection against the concept of AI writing, with the belief that people sought to basically replace them with computers, despite the fact that I think we all understand to a certain level that an AI can never actually deliver something that is. It'd be missing a human element because it'd be a computer.
You can't get the human connection.
And that was one of the things that the studios responded with, no counter. So
they need to just like, look, AI, it's probably good for YouTubers, that want to make some, cool little short film, short video. It'd be cool for them, but like for movies, TV shows, AI, while yes, you can maybe have a basic plot written out, like you said, there's just the human connection is just, it's not going to be there. AI is not human. It's not going to have what we as humans can bring to the table with writing. But again, I just think what the WGA is asking for, it's fair. Again, if you want to have more content at high quality, then pay more. Like if you want high quality food, you're not going to go to like McDonald's. Okay, if you want a Gordon Ramsay, like, I don't name something Gordon Ramsay makes. If you want something made by Gordon Ramsay, you're not going to get it from McDonald's or Wendy's. So it's like, just,
I'd love to see them try.
Yeah, it's just not going to work. Although the crispy chicken sandwich is very gourmet for McDonald's, if you ask me, it's very gourmet. But just just go to the table. The writers, they make the movies. Without the writers, you don't have movies, you don't have TV shows, or at least good movies and TV shows. I mean, are we going to have a bunch of Daniel Craig's, working on scripts on set, as they're making their Quantum of Solace? It's like, come on, it's not that hard. Hi, Chris.
Right, absolutely. I mean, and we've seen examples in the past of what happens when producers and studio execs try and jump in the driver's seat and make movies.
Simon Kinberg.
Look at like probably one of the most public examples of a shitty film is Geostorm, which was directed by Dean Devlin, who spent 20 years being a producer for Roland Emmerich, and then thought, oh fuck, I can do this, and it's worse than most of Roland Emmerich's movies. Before we move on, because we do want to get to the summer films, of course. Austin, Medea, I'll go down to your guys. What are your guys' thoughts on this? Whoever wants to take it first.
It's one of those things where the last one was roughly 15 years ago, right? Something like that. So it's one of those things where I think one of these is going to happen about every 10 or 15 years or so because of the advent of technology and the way we consume content. It's just going to be a thing where movies have had to adapt to merchandising, to points on the back end of box office, to pay movie channels like HBO and Showtime back in the day when they, came out, and how people were compensated for that type of syndication. I remember the other writer strike because I was recording my Conan O'Brien off of TiVo. If I remember when he was doing the, non-writers shows for about a month, where he was just doing kind of wacky skits and stuff, not written stuff. But it was, at the time I was recording stuff on TiVo, we still didn't have a streaming service at this time. It's amazing where we've come in 15 years. And yeah, it's going to be one of those things where they're going to have to figure out these new contracts going forward, and how with these streaming services, everything is just going into one giant pot. And it's, how do we dole that out and compensate everybody from the number of subscribers, from the fact that the number of subscribers can go up or down at any given point. A service can fail or get folded, as we're seeing with the Discovery thing, just getting folded into, the HBO Max or Max, whatever the hell you want to call it. They're saying Paramount Plus might go under because I heard they're losing money, hemorrhaging money left
for sure
with their service. So if something goes down, how do those writers who had contracts with that streaming service get compensated on the back end, for something, or where if a show gets transferred to another service from there, it's it's one of those things where I couldn't even begin to know where to start if I was one of these studio people, as far as like where to go and how to sort all that out. But it's something that's going to have to be done every 10 or 15 years with how we consume content, and with everything just going to these pots instead of everything being on a per show basis or something, or per viewer on a cable network. I wouldn't want to be the guy to try to figure that out, but it's going to get more. It's going to get more and more complicated, not less complicated, as technology gets crazier. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And those reports are very legitimate. I believe, as far as I'm aware, both Paramount and HBO are the only two services thus far that have licensed out originally produced content. Every other streaming service, even like most people expect something like Peacock to not really be a success, but even they have managed to not have to go to that level yet. And keep in mind that Paramount Plus as a service in full has only been around for about a year and a half at most, and they're already taking stuff off of their service, same with HBO Max, and licensing it to other platforms in an attempt to make more money off of it. Madi, what are your thoughts before we move on?
You guys remember Lost and Heroes? Those shows that had like really good first seasons and then really shit the bed later on. Yeah, that was because of the writer's strike, because the writers left, and then all of a sudden they were like, let's go the Bible route. Let's do whatever the fuck Heroes did. Like, the writer's strike is a reason that a lot of these shows that people love go to shit. And with so many shows out right now, like, Succession is ending, and it's lucky that it's ending before this writer's strike, because that's all writing. Things like Severance on Apple TV, and Game of Thrones I'm concerned about, because they had that whole thing of like, oh, we're just going forward with the script we have, and they're having no rewrites on it now at all. Rewrites happen throughout the whole process. All these shows that people are excited about in the next year or so, a lot of them could just go right down the shitter if this writer's strike goes on for another few months. So this is like one of those things, like, just get the writers what they need, man. Like, it's not hard. If you want good product, you need to have good writers. Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, their writers hadn't seen WandaVision, and you can kind of tell how it goes along, right? Like, if you're not having the writing quality as high as everything else, then the whole quality of the whole thing is going to dip. So get the writers what they need. Like, don't pay them like $2 per show or whatever the hell that they were planning on doing in the first place. Give them what they're supposed to get, and let's just move on. Like, everyone wants this to go well. If it doesn't, well, you guys are going to lose money because your stuff is going to be shitty.
Yeah. Like, writers who are working on movies and TV shows, they shouldn't have to sleep in their car. Like, they should be paid a livable wage. It's like, I don't know. You read the thing, Aaron. Like, is there anything that's like, I guess, just too much that they're asking for? Or are you kind of like me, where I'm like, I mean, if
in my opinion, no.
Seemed outrageous. It all seemed like really reasonable stuff. Like, it's like, let's get essentially enough for the show.
Writers are at a point, especially because we're at a place of like, again, I talk about like non-movie fans and the public perception. A lot of people want to sort of turn thought and blame towards writers for things. You know what I mean? Because like one of the things that I've spoken about before on the show is when it comes to like direction, most people can't actually tell what direction is in a show, like, unless you know film, you've seen a lot of film, you research it, and you kind of pick up on what to look for. So it's very, very easy to sort of blame the writers. And so at this point, again, with social media being what it is, writers are very much in the firing squad of, oh, if the public doesn't like what you're doing, we're going to go after the writers for it. And so, and with that, what it means is, more than ever, I think people want the quality of their shows to be sort of on point. You know what I mean? We're past the point of, like, you know what I mean? Like, we're at a point now where something that's getting like, we'll look at sitcoms, for example, right? Something like Abbott Elementary, or one that I believe actually is probably going to get canceled now because of the writer's strike, in Home Economics on the same network, which are getting rave reviews from people. They're constantly concerned about if they're going to get renewed or not due to viewership. Whereas 10 years ago, you had something like, if anyone remembers Rules of Engagement, the David Spade sitcom that ran for like 7 or 8 years, and it's not very good if you go and watch it, but it survived.
According to Jim, with Jim Belushi, ran for like 10 years. years. People don't
Exactly.
realize that. And it
So
wasn't. Did anybody watch that show?
So
Like, no.
we're at a
Jim
point now
Belushi's
where
family didn't watch
quality
that show.
is demanded in order to succeed and stay. And if you want quality, it starts with the script. So I think absolutely there's a reason we're all on the same page here because it just makes sense. Writers are the foundation block of Hollywood. There's a reason that like things like the blacklist exist, a script, like a system that's literally there to propound out good scripts for people to work with. Writers are much more important than I think people want to put aside. As somebody who, like, my own personal interest and what I've studied into film is in writing, it's not as easy as you think it is to be creative and to, even when you're adapting something, like because you have to think of it like a filmmaker. There's a reason so many writers end up becoming directors if their career advances far enough, because you have to think of it through that lens. It's not the same as just writing a book or writing things out on a piece of paper. So pay them what they deserve, and at the very least pay what they're demanding, because it's really not that much. Like David Zaslav went on like MSNBC or one of those channels and like had his fucking panties all in a bunch, like over it, and because he was like, oh well, we're going to be hitting peak streaming profits in 2025 and and it's like, dude, just fucking pay the people that put the work in. Like you're especially
money.
It says but it's also. It's clashing with the same thing that's happening in our economy. These companies and corporations are reporting the biggest profits in the history of profits, essentially. If you look at every major company, corporation, whatever, but wages are not keeping pace with the inflation and the increases in everything, rent and all kinds of stuff. And it's like people like me, I work at a grocery store. I'm not asking 6 figures to work my frozen department. You know what I mean? But let's keep pace with like the increase in the cost of living. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're going out and touting that your profits are up 85% from the previous year, well, like, can you at least compensate your workers to to match that? It's not like, I'm not asking for twice my pay. You know what I mean? But just like enough to kind of cover the extra. That's all.
We're in 2007 again. The economy is going to shit. We're on a writer's strike. This is exactly what happened back then. And then, you have like, I don't know, LeBron James is still doing it. And he's been playing since 1992. So it's like we're literally living in 2007.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and jump into, we'll move on from this. Of course, I'm sure this won't be the last that it'll come up in the news. So certainly we'll have more discussion and more opinions on it as it moves forward.
I think this one might last more than the last one did for a month. This one might last.
The last one was about 4 months, give or take.
Yeah, this one's going to last longer than that. It might, because of the complications and the how they're going to have to figure out each of these technological and streaming things, man. I don't know like how long this might get dragged out for a while, for quite a minute.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll go ahead and move on to the summer movie season. Let's jump into this. The other thing I'm going to enforce, similar to what we did when we talked about kind of 2022 and film a couple of weeks ago, I'm going to go through every major release that's coming out, and I'll pull up a couple of streaming ones, the ones that I think are worth more mentioning it of note, because, I mean, there's always something coming out on streaming, but the ones that are more worth talking about. And you only have to make comment on what interests you as we'll go ahead and go through this. And so, of course, the summer movie season starts this week with the release of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. There's also a romance film called Love Again that got a wide release, although apparently it's fucking awful.
Oh, it just makes me want to see it.
Incredible. It's the greatest movie of all time.
No, wait, I'll talk about a movie that's coming out in a week and a half that I think is the greatest stupid dumpster fire of 2023 so far that I want all of you to see. I'll talk about it very soon.
Okay. So we'll go ahead. So Matt, I guess you've seen Love Again. So if you want to talk briefly.
Yeah, I did.
It's your choice.
I didn't know what it was until I saw the
reviews,
reviews, and now I want to see it.
I'll start down with Mehdi, just because I know you're the most on a time crunch. So I'll start with you to make sure you get your opinions in until you have to head out of here. What were your brief thoughts on Guardians 3? And by the way, this is for anyone watching, by the way, this is non-spoiler, keeping with the history of the show. Next week, we're going to do a full spoiler episode. This is just very brief thoughts. Go ahead.
I really enjoyed Guardians 3. I don't think it's one that I'll be necessarily going back to a lot just because of some of the stuff that happens in the film. Like, I have a dog, so a lot of the content of the film gets very difficult to handle. But for me, it's the best Guardians movie, like, by far. I think 1 was good. I enjoyed it. 2, I did not like. The Christmas special was fun. But this one was overall like probably the one that I've actually enjoyed the most, start to finish. I really enjoyed this film. So, yeah, go see Guardians 3. It's actually a good one.
Austin?
I've made no secrets that I've been pretty much a fan of almost nothing in Phase 4 or Phase 5 thus far. I think most of them have been mediocre to bad. And Guardians 3 is easily the best thing since Endgame. I don't count Spider-Man because that's a Sony movie. I just don't. So it's a whole different thing. If you want to, whatever, we can quibble over that later. But it's a Sony production. But as far as a straight Marvel Studios MCU production, it's the best one. I'm like Madi. I had a Humane Society dog for the longest time, then unfortunately passed away recently. I take animal stuff to heart. So if you want to get me emotional, put in stuff about animals being abused, and I'm gonna be right, against whoever's doing it, pretty much immediately.
Yeah.
So yeah, that stuff worked. It is a perfect arc for Rocket and kind of wrapping up, getting back into where he came from and all of that. The team dynamic is still good. It's not too jokey. There's enough jokes, but it's not too like haha waka waka jokey. It's just the right kind of humor that the Guardians kind of were able to ride that line. Good solid villain, and just a good solid finale to this trilogy. I think it's a step up from Guardians 2, maybe just slightly below the original one. I think most people would probably agree to that who see it. The original one is kind of still the standard, but it comes close and it's pretty damn good.
Matt?
Yeah, I saw that after Love Again, and it's great. It really is great. I still, it's the same with Austin. I slightly prefer the first Guardians over this one, but very good, great way to close out the trilogy. Has the emotions for sure. I'm dealing with an animal thing right now. He's still rocking it and doing his thing, but dealing with some old dog stuff, and it's real tough. So that definitely hit me right there. Definitely have connected to all 3 of the movies now, because the mom aspect, I'm really connected to my mom. The dad aspect, is very, relatable to me. And then, my, previous girlfriend was thrown off a cliff by a crazy father. So I relate to
I didn't
that
know
as
your
well.
dad was a planet.
And then she came back to life, and my dad's he's a giant planet. He is. But no, I really did enjoy this movie. Good way to end things. Obviously, we're not going to get into details.
Right.
High Evolutionary's a great villain. Really dug it. One of the better villains. Not as good as like Green Goblin. If we're gonna, Green Goblin's an MCU villain, so he's my favorite, obviously. Or Thanos. I think Thanos is a little bit better too. But this is definitely like a top 5, top 3 villain with.
Oddly enough,
Evolutionary.
one of my biggest nitpicks, the least memorable soundtrack of the 3. I'll say that.
Yeah,
it is. I still think it's a good soundtrack, but
it's a solid soundtrack while you're watching it, but it didn't make me want to immediately go on Spotify and listen to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it
doesn't hit the
hate
James Gunn standard.
Yeah.
I didn't hate No Sleep Till Brooklyn.
That was a good use.
That was a lot.
Yeah,
it gets used a lot in movies, but this one was like, I don't.
Which leads to a great action scene. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, I say it leads to a really good action scene that rivals the first 2 Avengers action scenes for me. But really dug it. There's some things that happened in the movie that I was a little surprised that Marvel and Disney let them go. They could have maybe hinted at it, but they do go not crazy, but there are some things that they kind of push, and I'm kind of surprised Disney was like, yeah, go ahead. Then again, we're talking about the same studio that made a lot of kids get scarred for seeing Bambi's mom die and stuff like that. But let's talk about Love Again, shall we? Love Again, just a fantastic movie.
Right, you get I'm putting the foot. You get 30 seconds to run this joke.
30 seconds. It's not a joke, okay? Look, you have Nick Jonas's wife and Nick Jonas in this movie. Celine Dion plays herself, which is kind of weird, but hey, do you believe in love? But yeah, would you guys believe it that a random text message could help you find love? Have I seen the movie? No fucking way.
Okay. All right.
But I will see it tomorrow.
You almost had me. I was like, did he actually see this movie? Is this a real?
I kind of want to see it because it has like a 10% on Rotten Tomatoes right now. I kind of want to go see it.
Yeah, it's apparently abysmal.
Yeah, it's
all right. Awful.
So I want to see it.
I'll take my dad.
We'll move on, going through week by week. Next week we have 3 movies hitting wide release, and then 2 hitting limited release that I think are both interesting. One of which I actually got to see an early screening of, so I can talk about it. By the way, because I let him do his bit, I'm not gonna. We'll move on, but I like Guardians a lot. Like on a scale out of 10, I gave it an 8.5, which is the same score I gave the first one. I'd say I like the first one probably slightly more. But the biggest thing, and obviously we'll get into spoilers next week on it, there is one big consistent glaring issue with this movie that holds it back through me, that is a constant throughout it, but it's something that just hit me personally. And I mean, my brother and sister saw it the same day and they didn't have as much of an issue with it. Just to provide context, I'll just send something into the private chat without saying it out loud. But aside from that, I do think this movie was damn near excellent. And I think if there's anyone out there that is concerned about Gunn's ability to direct a Superman film in a less comedic tone than what he's done previously, I think this film will actually help you kind of get there, because it's not as comedic as anything that he's done previously. It is a little more serious. So with that said, moving on to next week, the 3 films in wide release, we have Knights of the Zodiac, which is apparently an adaptation of an anime. I don't know very much about it, except there's some images of people wearing like what looks like a mix of armor and like ancient Greek clothing or Roman clothing, and its ensemble cast includes Sean Bean, Mark Dacascos, who was the assassin in John Wick Chapter 3, Nick Stahl, Famke Jensen, and Madison Eisman, who was the blonde chick in the Jumanji film. So it's a really weird cast, and it's based on an anime. The second film is Hypnotic, which is the latest film from Robert Rodriguez.
I want to talk about Hypnotic real quick. So I've been spreading the good news of Hypnotic.
Okay, were you at the screening on Monday?
I was at the Regal screening, yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
I figured that's what was playing, but I didn't get a chance to go to it. But Hypnotic is coming out this weekend from Robert Rodriguez, starring Ben Affleck. It's only been described so far, unless you've seen it as a sci-fi thriller. We also have, for all you elder statesmen out there, Book Club: The Next Chapter hits wide release this week. For anybody who
the old ladies
horny for Jane Fonda or whichever one's in this.
Let me grab a paper towel real quick.
All right. And then entering wide release for any Always Sunny fans, Fool's Paradise, which is Charlie Day's directorial debut, hits theaters this week after being on hold for over a year due to just kind of getting post-production done. This is also, I believe, officially Ray Liotta's last movie. There may be one other one I'm forgetting, but I think this is his final, or else it's just another one of his last films. But Ray Liotta's in this. And then the one that I'll talk about, because I have seen it, is Blackberry, which stars, funny enough, another Always Sunny cast member in Glenn Howerton. It also stars Jay Baruchel, and it's about the founding of Blackberry, the device, and the build up and then fall apart of the company. This movie I got to see an early screening of this a couple of weeks ago. I thought the movie was very, very good. It's very much in the vein of The Big Short and The Social Network. You can very clearly see it's wearing its influences on its sleeve. But I think for a rookie director, the director of the film, Matt Johnson, who also wrote it and co-stars in it alongside them, he's not a total rookie. He has made films before, but this is obviously the biggest scale he's ever worked on. I think he does a really, really good job. I don't know if it's quite good enough to say Oscar-worthy, if only because Air also came out this year and is kind of a similar film that I do think is slightly better than this. But if it's playing at a theater near you, I definitely think it's worth going to check out, especially if you like The Social Network or The Big Short or Air or movies that are like that, in which it's just having fun telling this story. Like The Social Network, it's not the full true story. It's based on the true story, so it does take creative liberties. But it's the bare beats for the most part, and it has a lot of fun doing it. Especially, I think Glenn Howerton's excellent, considering most of his career is just Dennis from Always Sunny. There's not very much that he does outside of this. So it's cool to see him in something else. All right, so Austin, I know you've seen Hypnotic, so I'll jump down to you quickly to talk about that.
I have been waiting for all of 2023 so far for a great dumpster fire, stupid, bad movie. And Hypnotic is that movie. I encourage everybody to go see this movie. It is, for those of you who don't know, it's Robert Rodriguez and Ben Affleck, right? And this movie is ripped straight from 2002. This is a 2002 film. Like, it feels like Paycheck, like something that Affleck would make in the early 2000s. It is shot like an early 2000s movie. It looks like an episode of CSI. It is shot very poorly. It has the first 45 minutes is nothing but expositional dialogue. It is the most clunky exposition where what's her name, Alice Braga or whatever, the baby mama from Fast and Furious, all she does the entire movie is spit exposition. She has no personality, no nothing. And then if you know the basic premise of the movie is way more interesting than what they do at the end of the movie. And I won't spoil it, but about an hour in, they bombard you with twists about like what's really going on. And it just goes from one stupid thing to another, to where I was like, I had my hands like in my head buried and just shaking my head going, this is, somebody got high and wrote this movie and just thought that having the one more twist after would be great.
I did a little bit of research into the movie beforehand, and I can answer your question. It's funny you say 2002. The answer is Robert Rodriguez, who originally wrote this screenplay in 2002. No joke.
Doesn't
look
feel
it up.
like it. Holy shit.
It had recent rewrites as recent as a year ago, 20 years later, by Max Borenstein, who has been the lead writer for the Monsterverse so far.
It feels like 20 people have rewritten this movie. It's like Total Recall meets Stranger Things meets Inception meets Paycheck. Like, it's a garbled mess. And I want everybody to see it. That's the difference. Is like, I'm not saying it's like boring bad. Where like
it's fun bad.
It kind of is up until a point. Like, I was getting like, where are we going? And then when they hit you with a twist, and you'll know it when you see it, and then another twist, and another twist, and it's like it's so stupid. You have to see it. Like, it's the first great bad movie of 2023, like epically bad movie of 2023. So I want everybody to see it. It's awesome. I want everybody in this community talking about this movie.
All right. So then, Matt, Madi, just briefly, any movies that you're interested in this week, or shall we move on?
Can you say them again? Because they're all forgettable.
Yeah, they're all pretty forgettable. I think the only one I'm curious about is the Charlie Day one.
Fool's Paradise.
Fool's Paradise. Yeah. But I don't know if I'm necessarily gonna go out to the theater to see it anytime soon, or if I'll wait for it to show up on like Netflix or on Max or something.
Yeah. I mean, I'll go see it eventually too. But look, the first book club was just like look, let's watch it on a Sunday after.
Are you going to do this with grandma? All of these movies?
No, look, I saw the first one because I worked at a movie theater.
The only reason I would see that movie is if Mary Steenburgen's getting naked in it. That's about the only reason I'd see it.
Wait, she's getting naked in that movie?
But I think she's fully clothed.
No, he said he'd see it if she does.
I'd see it if she was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But that
first one was just it was a little throwaway movie. It wasn't harmful. I'm kind of surprised that we're getting the book club universe, but here we are. Can't wait for Helen Mirren's comic book store movie. It's gonna be great.
The only thing about this movie I can say is I appreciate that a sequel to a movie that's about a bunch of old women reading 50 Shades of Grey is a bunch of old women reading, I'm pretty sure it's 365 Days, like the book that movie's based on.
Oh God.
Which is part of the reason why they go to Italy anyways. So
look, we're gonna get 80 for Brady too.
The old lady that I was gonna say with 80 for Brady, at least it's not as immediately outdated as 80 for Brady when that movie came out, where Brady hadn't even played for the Patriots in 3 seasons at that
he was
point.
retired.
So he's like basically retired. It's like what do we do?
No. See, the movie's not outdated. It's perfectly timed because in 80 for Brady, there's a jump cut at the end of the movie to 3 years in the future as they're celebrating his retirement. That movie was perfectly timed, not outdated. All
What a
right,
movie.
so we'll move on to the week after, where we have a couple of more interesting films. We have, of course, Fast X, the 10th entry, technically 11th entry in the Fast and Furious franchise. I'm not going to bother reading the cast because I've read it one too many times, but everybody and their mother,
Everybody
and by
plus
that I mean
Jason
Rita
Momoa.
Moreno,
That's
is
all you
in
gotta
this
say.
fucking film.
I'm in it.
That weekend, we also have Buddy Games Spring Awakening, which is, I believe, Josh Duhamel's second directorial effort. This is a sequel to a movie called The Buddy Games, which was one of those films that was released in 2020 in sort of a very limited / like Redbox rental type of release. And it did well enough that they were encouraged enough to make a sequel to it that is going to theaters, which I'm interested just on the concept alone of like this got a sequel. And then we have the first streaming movie that's really worth mentioning, which is the Hulu produced remake of White Men Can't Jump, which is probably most famous for being A, one of Lance Reddick's final roles, but B, the acting debut of rapper Jack Harlow, which is in the Woody Harrelson role from the original. So Madi, I'll go down to you first, just because I know we're going to lose you any minute now. What are your thoughts on? Because Fast and Furious would be the next big blockbuster. What are your thoughts on this franchise at this point?
I stopped watching this franchise a while ago. I don't have the mental capacity to handle it. I think I enjoyed the movies when they were just a Point Break ripoff, and then suddenly Dominic Toretto with a single Dodge Charger dragged an entire bank vault down like a bridge in Brazil, and I was like, "Wait, weren't these movies
Jason
based in
Momoa
reality?"
is a part of that. It's going to tie back into that.
Yes, it is.
Oh yeah, somehow.
Yeah,
Honestly, they should have stopped making these years ago. I thought, oh, the final movie they'll go in space, and then they actually went to space last time, and now they're making two more, and I'm astounded.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see how many times Vin Diesel will say family again. I guess I don't know. I'm not gonna see this movie. I don't care enough about this franchise. The only one of this week that I'm curious about is the streaming movie that you mentioned.
White Men Can't Jump.
Yeah, because instead of watching that, I'm gonna watch the original again.
White Men Can't Jump.
Feel much better about myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm just gonna watch the original White Man Can't Jump instead because it's a better time, most likely.
Well, I saw the other film directed by this director, which was the House Party remake, which wasn't good.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Say what you will. Austin, what are your thoughts on?
Yeah,
you had a very vivid reaction to White Men Can't Jump. So what are your thoughts on that?
Dude, I'm sorry. That movie still works. You don't need to remake it. Like the Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson. Like you watch that movie today, and other than the clothing, it's not really outdated. Like I mean, they're wearing like the short shorts, but it is what it is. But like, that movie still has great chemistry, good writing, great basketball sequences. Like it's just another unnecessary. The House Party one was unnecessary. This is unnecessary. He's just gonna remake hood classics that don't need to be remade. What's that? He's gonna make Friday. He's gonna make Boys in the Hood. Like what's he gonna do? Just keep going through the '90s? But like it's stupid and unnecessary. Like I didn't even bother with House Party. I might watch it just before this just to see how bad it was, but we'll see. As far as Fast and the Furious goes, this thing should have ended with Paul Walker, Furious 7. Like it could have ended with him driving away in that scene. Like. And I would have been perfectly okay with that. And then if you want to make spinoffs, like whatever. But the fact that, we've gone to space. You can't just come back to Earth and keep doing shit. what are you gonna do? Like I don't get it. Like why are we still going? I hated the last one. I hated Fate of the Furious. Like Furious 7 was okay, but that one was as overstuffed as it gets. And I just end this already. Like if you want to make your dumb spin-offs, like fine, but like I'm so over this series at this point. It's gotten to the point of self-parody to where it's like it's not even fun anymore. It's just nonsense.
Matt, what are your thoughts?
That Buddy Camp Games, whatever it's called, the sequel to that, it sounds like something that you would find on Disney Channel back in like 2005, a Disney Channel original movie starring, I don't know, named Shia LaBeouf. Why not? He was still involved with Disney, I think, at that time. That's pretty much what that movie is. Cool. Buddy Games, Electric Boogaloo. Can't wait. It'll probably be the best movie that comes out that week, though, because Fast and Furious 9. Look, there's only one reason why we're still getting Fast and Furious movies. It's so Vin Diesel can keep stroking his giant ass ego. If you want to keep stroking that ego of yours, do Riddick instead. Let's get Riddick going. I would rather have two more Riddick
I'd rather have another
movies
Riddick movie.
than,
Honestly, yeah, please.
like, I know we're gonna get another, but give me 3 more instead of another Fast and Furious movie.
Yeah.
Like, Austin said, 8's not good at all. It's quite bad. 9 is just a complete travesty to the human race, and 7 is a decent little movie. I forgive them for it because you had the Paul Walker situation. They had to halfway through filming change a lot, so that I was like, okay.
But he was the heart of those movies. Like, let it go after that. You literally had one of your main cast members pass away in a horrible accident. Like, just settle it, let it go. Because even in the context of the series, Brian's still alive. Keep that in mind.
Yes.
I really
not have.
I bet you what they're gonna do is they're gonna have his brother or whoever it was in the 7th movie come back and they redo like the deep fake or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then like, oh yeah, one last rat, and then Brian comes in his fucking car and like helps them pull off the last mission of Fast and Furious 11 or whatever the last one's gonna be.
Like,
it's gonna be something so dumb.
It's worth reminding people that apparently in this film they are reusing and repurposing so much footage from Fast 5 that Paul Walker is receiving a cast credit, not just a previously used footage credit. For what it's worth, not just him. Joaquin de Almeida, who played the villain in the 5th film, is also receiving a cast credit because of the amount of repurposed footage that's being used.
Yeah.
So
now I will say this though: the only good thing about this movie is Jason Momoa. Jason Momoa feels like he's the perfect villain for a Fast and Furious.
He looks
movie.
like he's having fun in the trailers.
Like,
I'll give him that.
He's a
That's
better
really
kid
the only
than Cena
reason I'm
was
going to
in
go
the
see the
last
movie.
one.
Yeah.
He looks like he went in for a paycheck and then was like, I'm making the most of this. Like,
yeah, it's like
well, Aquaman's not going anywhere, so
what's his name from the last night? Who is it? One in
I think I stuck around in
Hopkins, yeah, just like Anthony Hopkins. Watch that movie. He just doesn't care. He's just having the time of his life.
It's like, I have 2 Oscars. You think I need this?
I have 2 Oscars. I'm running away from these fake robots. Let's go. And then White Man Can't Jump. Look, I don't think we need a remake of this movie, but I was willing to give it a chance. So I watched the trailer, and if you had to pull up the dictionary and you looked up, biggest piece of shit, and you look in the dictionary for that, you have a picture of the poster for the remake of White Man Can't Jump. That movie looks like a travesty, and it makes perfect sense that the same guy did House Party. It just makes perfect sense. And then we're gonna get Friday with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, playing. That's what we're gonna get, playing Chris Tucker and Ice Cube.
LeBron's a little too old for that at this point.
Hey, or maybe he's what's his name, where he shits his underwear or whatever. We'll have him. But yeah,
if LeBron
plays
week. Debo, I'm down.
It's just it's just funny that Buddy Camp Games Part 2, the Red Box movie that's getting a sequel, is going to be the best movie that comes out that week. Like, it really is.
We're gonna move on. I honestly don't hate these films as much as most people, just because I know that they're going to be fucking dumb. I do agree. The 9th one took itself way too seriously, and that was a big issue. But I've enjoyed Hobbs and Shaw 8, 7, 6. I think they know exactly what they are.
Hobbs and Shaw wasn't bad.
They're dumb movies that I'm not going to see more than 2 times in my life.
I see these movies and how silly they get. My favorite movie has literally become Too Fast, Too Furious because of the simplicity of it. It's like just them being undercover cops essentially and racing and doing shit that drivers would do. And most of the stuff revolves around their driving skills, not like spy skills. And then just doing a mission, posing as
Listen, bro.
Like, I'm just saying, the more it goes, the more and more silly it gets, the more and more, I swear, people, if you go back and watch like Tokyo Drift or Too Fast, you will appreciate the simplicity of those movies and how just basic they are, and you will have a whole nother appreciation for them. I'm telling you. Yeah.
Imagine if Point Break had 9 sequels.
Oh god.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Just
but don't forget, Point Break had 9 sequels, And also
And a spinoff.
Here's what I'll say: the Fast and Furious. Pick any one of the Fast and Furious films, and it's still better than the Point Break remake. So
that's true.
Yeah.
Now look,
but
if I ever have a child, and pray for that child if it ever happens, the only Fast and Furious movies I'm showing them is Too Fast, Too Furious, and Tokyo Drift. You want to know why? Because Vin Diesel's not in that movie, and he's not stroking his big old ego in those movies.
Yeah, that's why.
Like, I can't wait to get another
Triple.
Triple X movie. Just so excited. And The Last Witch Hunter Part 5. Can't wait to get 4 more of those.
Babylon AD 2.
Before Matt puts any more bad will out into the universe, let's just move on. Mehdi, are we losing you yet?
Yes, actually, I do have to go.
All right. So before you hop off, first off, sir, thank you for being here for the first part of the show with us. But secondly, we got the final big blockbuster of May, The Little Mermaid. What are your thoughts?
I couldn't care less about the first Little Mermaid. This one, the crab and the fish look haunting, so I'm probably going to wait for it to go on Disney Plus before I think about it. Listen, Halle Bailey looks phenomenal. She's got a voice that could like kill people. Honestly, I thought Halle Bailey was the one singing the intro for the show.
Yeah, she was.
Like, yeah,
she's a late addition.
She was in there.
It was her vocal.
But yeah, I don't know. Like the CGI in it looks a little scary, honestly. Like, and it's 2 hours long. That's a long time.
Remember, that crab is going to be singing a politically corrected version of "Kiss the Girls."
Kiss the Girls, yeah. Well, you can't kiss the girl.
Was it "Kiss the Man" or whatever? Is that what's going to be?
No. They're just going to make sure there are lines about consent in there.
Consent the girl.
Kiss with consent.
Ask for permission to kiss the girl.
If that crab had like a non-Jamaican accent,
you want to kiss the girl.
If a non-Jamaican accent crab was singing that song to me, I'd still be freaked out. The fact that Davine Diggs is doing a Jamaican accent for it still freaks me out. I don't care. I'll watch it and then like cover my eyes if I have to. Like this movie looks like nightmare fuel, and I don't need that in my life right now.
I just can't wait to see Flounder that looks like a legit fish that has no emotion. Just like
flopping around.
Yeah.
I'll just say
like,
the trailers
Ariel,
are even more accurate when they show a picture of that fish and then throw up on the screen from the makers of The Lion King. It's like, yep.
Yeah.
Remember, this is the same studio that owns the same company that made Avatar: The Way of Water. We're gonna go from Avatar: The Way of Water.
You went from
Avatar, to The Little Mermaid
to the CGI, whatever the hell that thing was. Honestly, so I saw this when The Lion King came out. Like, just have like CGI creatures, but then have like animated faces, sort of like like mix the two styles together. That would probably work a lot better than what they're doing. I don't know why Disney's like, no, it has to be exactly what a crab looks like. Have you seen what crabs look like?
Crabs are scary. Have you seen that video with the crab with the knife, like running around the beach? Man, that shit is scary.
Crabs like STD, man. We don't need that on the screen singing about consent. We don't need it. Just move on.
This is literally going to be the animals in the movie. Ariel, look out. Run.
Ariel, the shark's
coming. It's like no emotion.
It honestly, when the sharks do come, it's going to look terrifying because it's just going to be like a scene.
Melissa McCarthy's got enough overacting going on for all of that lack of emotion.
I'm honestly not too worried about Melissa McCarthy in this movie. I feel like she'll fit in perfectly.
Oh, overacting is what this movie needs, but
she like feels like Ursula. Just in the trailers,
I think she's gonna be the surprise like star of this, and then like Halle Bailey, she's gonna be good in it. I hope, like as an actress, her singing's on point, but like we'll see what she can do as an actress. Yeah. Everything else in this movie, I'm just like, nah, man, this looks so messed up.
I mean, at the very least, she's not a total rookie as an actress. I believe she was on that show Grownish for 4 seasons. So she's not a total rookie as an actress. I mean, that's not the most experience anyone's ever had, but still, it's better than
nothing. I wouldn't call Drake an actor because he was on Degrassi. You know what I mean? Like it's
right.
That's Drake was though.
Drake calls himself a lot of things, but like
he does.
I don't think actor would definitely be in the
discussion.
Who knows? If she's good, then great. I know her singing is going to be great, but it's I don't know.
All right, so Before we move on to the other films that weekend and we lose you real quick, if you have a second, do you want to just talk about the one film we didn't get to that you're interested in the most? If you want to throw your opinion out there one more time.
I mean, come on, the Flash. You guys know I'm a DC guy. The Flash is definitely on the top of that list. Obviously, Michael Keaton is going to come back. Michael Shannon coming back is a great thing, and the screening reviews are all mostly positive for the most part. Other than that, Indiana Jones I'm excited for. Oppenheimer, Barbie I'm excited for. Like, there's a lot this year that's coming out that I'm like, all right, I'm going to be spending a lot of time in the theater. And then there's other things like Fast and Furious. I'm like, all right, who cares? Like, that's a weekend off for me.
Yeah.
But no, this summer looks like it'll be pretty exciting. I'm forgetting a bunch of them off the top of my head, but those are the ones that are like definitely sticking out. Like, I definitely want to see these in a packed house. And then, Dune's in November, so that's
Dune's November.
But Dune's another one that my girlfriend and I have been hyping up for the last 2 years.
All right. Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us, sir. We'll continue on with the show, but we appreciate you being here. Till next time, take care of yourself.
Take care.
As we'll go ahead. So obviously we got. I don't think there's anything more.
My only thing about Little Mermaid was when I found out the runtime is 2 hours and 15 minutes, and it's going to be the longest of any of these runtimes. When to me, my point is the original gets it done in 82 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell are you doing? Like, we're adding 4 songs for the sake of songs. We're adding a Prince Eric backstory, apparently. Like, I don't need all that shit. The original got it done in under 90 and told everything you need to tell. You're stretching it out just for the sake of it, man. Like, that's more about my thing of like this. They have to realize these movies are for families. Remember, Mario gets it done in 90 minutes. In and out with the kids. Like, you can't have 2.5 hour, because with trailers and pre-show, you're pushing 2.5. 2 hours and 40, like with these little kids who are going to see this movie, man. Like, these movies need to get shorter, not longer. Like, especially I just mean for family films. I'm not opposed to movies, but for families, man, you gotta do what Mario did, man. You gotta clock that shit at 95 minutes, man. You have to.
Yeah, and it's like if they wanted to make it 10 minutes longer, 15 minutes longer, that's fine.
A song or two,
add a little more to
whatever.
it.
That's
but
fine.
It shouldn't be nearly an hour or 2.5 hours. It shouldn't be that long.
So we'll go into the other, because there are three other films that open wide that weekend against it. We have 2 different comedies. We have The Machine, which is the film from stand-up comedian Bert Kreischer, which is based on his probably most famous stand-up bit about a time where he got kidnapped in Russia while he was drinking. Co-stars Kreischer as himself, as well as Mark Hamill and Jimmy Tatro. We have About My Father, which comes from another stand-up comedian, Sebastian Maniscalco. I just saw the
trailer for attached to Guardians, I think.
Mm-hmm. Which stars Sebastian Maniscalco and Robert De Niro as a father and son who join with Maniscalco's fiance to visit her large eccentric family, and he's of course worried about his father, Italian New Yorker, fitting in. And then we have Condor, which honestly, from everything I've read about it, just kind of looks like The Covenant 2, just not by Guy Ritchie. This is a movie about Gerard Butler playing CIA operative Tom Harris, working with a translator to find their way to an extraction point in Kandahar, Afghanistan. This film is directed by Rick Roman Waugh. This is Gerard Butler's 3rd collaboration with director Waugh, after he worked with him on The Angel Has Fallen, the 3rd film in that series, and they also did Greenland together. Of these 3 films, quite honestly, because like I like Bert Kreischer's stand-up, but that movie looks like it'll suck just as much as it'll be great. Like, I feel like it is.
I have a feeling there's doing another Regal mystery movie on May 15th, and they've been playing the trailer. They played the trailer for Hypnotic, a couple of movies before. They played that, and they've been playing the Machine trailer before the other Regal movie. So I wouldn't be surprised if the next Regal one on May 15th was the Machine. So I'll probably see it because I've been going to all these Regal mysteries. So it's like one that I'll see it because I'll be at that thing, but I probably wouldn't go to see it otherwise, So I wouldn't be surprised if they show that, because they've been showing these smaller movies that don't have the marketing, that some of these other ones do. So it's never been like a big movie. It's been like these medium kind of movies. So I mean, we'll see. Mark Hamill looks like he's having a good time in it, so maybe that'll be worth it.
But I was going to say, of all of these, honestly, It's the Maniscalco one about my father looks honestly like the one that might be the best of these, if only because this movie actually looks like it could be a decent movie, and Robert De Niro has fun in these types of films. Like even the shit ones, like a couple of years ago, he was in one called The War with Grandpa, which was a horrible, horrible film, but
Yeah.
he was having so much fun in it, just getting to kind of play the old doddering man. And this one does look like it actually may have some comedic value to it. It also co-stars, in addition to those two, it co-stars Leslie Bibb as his wife, Kim Cattrall. For anyone who's a fan of Workaholics, Anders Holm is in this movie, so it's got some good potential here, I think, of the three of these. Condor is probably going to be just another fucking Butler movie. We already saw Plane this year. It'll probably be fine. Greenland is one of his better films.
I like
think
Greenland a lot. Yeah,
Angel Has
really
Fallen
good.
was better than London Has Fallen. So Rick Roman was one of the better directors he's working with, but I don't think it'll be anything too excellent.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for that movie. Tom Harris is like the perfect Gerard Butler character name. It's probably not gonna be great. I don't care. I'm excited for this one. It probably won't come out anywhere near me, but that's okay. The Machine, I think, is gonna be one of those movies. It's not that good of a movie, but you're gonna have a good time watching it. Just watch Mark Hamill having fun with Burt Kreischer. And then, I mean, look, The Little Mermaid's going to dominate the box office that week. I think we all pretty much expect that. But yeah, About My Father, whatever, that one I don't really have any care for. I'll probably see it eventually, but Condor or whatever, that's my most anticipated for the weekend. That might be my most for the summer.
So we'll jump here into June, which is good. The first week of June has two films, one of which I think we have one that will greatly appeal to Matt, and we have one that will greatly, I think, well, at least in concept, appeal to Austin, as we'll get into this.
Austin, what the one I would appeal to me.
Well, we're going to go to Austin I know for a fact that Austin's not looking forward to the blockbuster that weekend. So we'll go to the secondary film, which is the Stephen King adaptation, The Boogeyman. Directed by Rob Savage, who his most recent film is Dash Cam. The Boogeyman is an adaptation of the Stephen King book. The film did have a surprise debut screening at CinemaCon, though reviews are still under full embargo. Reactions were given out, and they were rather positive. The film is following in the footsteps of another film from last year, Smile, in that it was supposed to be a streaming release going to Hulu, but in January, they made the decision to flip it to a theatrical release instead, just based on word of mouth from people who saw it within the studio and Stephen King himself giving it sort of a stamp of approval and really enjoying what they came up with. And they've just been waiting for this. They clearly felt that this was a good weekend to release it on, and they've just had it on the shelf waiting for this release in June. So Austin, the reason I say that is because I know you're more of a horror guy than anything else. The Stephen King thing, I think you had a little bit of a reaction to that, but in general,
no, it's more of it was more the Rob Savage Dash Cam. Dash Cam's not good.
So okay, so I was gonna say, so because Dash Cam got, like, when you look it up, Dash Cam has a very mixed reception, but the people who love it really vouch for it, and the people who don't are very much very negative on it. There's not a lot of lukewarm reception to that film. So what do you think, if you know anything much about the Boogeyman story itself, and then what do you think about
I'm not familiar with the Stephen King aspect of it. I'm always surprised when I'm like, oh, I guess he keeps cranking out books. I don't keep up with them as much as I used to. But this is going to be like the 10th movie that's called Boogeyman or The Boogeyman. There was a series, a straight to video or straight to DVD series that had Tobin Bell in it called Boogeyman that they made 3 sequels to. And there, if you look up Boogeyman on IMDb, there's been Boogeyman movies for 30 years. So, I mean, it's an unoriginal title for sure. I don't know, the trailers make it look like Darkness Falls meets Lights Out. It's every other horror trailer I've ever seen. Something creeping in the dark. It looks kind of generic. It could surprise me, but I don't know.
And that assessment is correct. A lot of people who saw the film did positively so compare it to Lights Out in many ways.
Yeah, if so it's more like Lights Out than something else, that's fine. But yeah, to the other one that I know you're talking about, I physically can't watch it, so I won't be seeing it in theaters because it makes me sick.
Absolutely, which is going to be Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. which of course is the long anticipated sequel to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I'll jump on this one first. We talked about the trailer a couple of weeks ago when it came out on the show, and I said that while I am very much anticipating this film because the first one was my favorite film of that year, I do think from a quality perspective, this is the best of the Spider-Man films, and I'm very excited for the sequel and the direction that it's taking and the cast and the new additions, and all of it really, really excites me. I didn't think that it was a very good trailer. Now, I personally put that down to I think they just cut a bad trailer, and a lot of people responded very positively to it. So maybe again, it's just a case of it struck me in a bad way. It didn't kill my anticipation for it, but it's just kind of a shame that I don't like the trailer for the movie. But I'm really looking forward to this. We had a comment in the chat talking about thoughts on the fact that the movie is apparently 2 hours and 20 minutes. Which would make it the longest American animated film ever made by a good mile. I don't have an issue with it, if only because this is a story that started out as one script that was split into 2 movies. And it's, this sort of, it is a very kind of more so than Into the Spider-Verse, which is sort of like dipping your toe into the concept. This is a very grandiose, expansive approach to this type of movie. And honestly, I don't have an issue with it being that long. I think just because it's animated, I think obviously if you're someone like Austin, which you've said on this show multiple times, including others, that your issue with Spider-Verse maybe necessarily doesn't have anything to do with the actual quality of the film, and it's just the animation style doesn't strike you in a way that makes it.
Literally makes me nauseous. I can't watch the hyper action sequences. At home, I can't. Like, it just makes me nauseous. I can't watch it.
Right. So 2 hours and 20 minutes of that for you, not appealing, but to somebody who's a fan of it, I genuinely don't think it's an issue. Matt, I'm assuming this was the one you cared more about than Boogeyman, so I'm going to jump over to you with your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I was really excited for Boogeyman. Initially, just hearing about, it was going to be a straight to Hulu movie, then it got put, into theaters where they're like, no, this is too good. I was like, okay, this is really good. But I've heard from a few people that it's just not that scary. It's not a scary movie at all. And that kind of hurts the movie. If your movie's not scary and you're a horror film.
I was going to say, I'll back that up. Because like I said, overwhelmingly, I would say most of the people who saw it at CinemaCon were very positive on it. But even those positive reviews did make that note that the movie itself is not actually super scary. It does play as more of a thriller than anything else.
Yeah.
Then it because the trailers itself are pitching it as almost like a jump scare type of horror movie, and it is not that. It is more of a thriller. So sorry, continue.
I mean, I'm gonna still go see the movie, and if it's not scary, but I think it's a good movie, then
that's one.
Awesome. That's good. But if you're marketing this movie and you're saying this is a horror film and it's not scary, then it's going to knock you down a couple points for me because you failed at making a scary movie scary. If that's what you're saying it is, which I don't know, maybe they're saying is a thriller and it's not actually anything else. But I'm still gonna go see it. I think trailers look pretty good. Yeah, horror mystery. If you're not scary, you failed. But I'm still gonna go see it. Maybe I'll enjoy the movie as it is. I'll just be disappointed that I didn't get scared and didn't have to change my pants. Spider-Verse. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well. I'm not as high on the first one as everybody else is that claims it to be one of the best comic book movies. I think it's a very good movie. I think it's one of the better Spider-Man movie. I still think Spider-Man 2 and maybe No Way Home, because I did love No Way Home. I think those are like the 2 that are better, but I think it was still a really good movie that handled the Spider-Verse stuff really well, and they're going to really go crazy with that stuff. So it's going to be interesting to see. I like the trailer, the movie, plot wise looks interesting to me. I do like how they're not sticking to just that one animation style. When they go to the different universes, it's going to change the animation too, which I think that's a pretty cool thing. It's kind of like Elemental. It's a mixture of you have 2D animation and then some of the characters are 3D, and this I like when you can be a little unique and do a little different things with your animation, not just do straight up, oh, here's 3D, here's 2D. Like Visions, that first episode of season 2 is another example where the animation I thought was really good, really unique, and that always makes me pretty excited. But I did at first see the runtime go, ooh, that's long, but then I'm like, it's a Spider-Man movie. There's a lot in this movie that they're gonna have to cover. It makes sense to make it 2 hours and 20 minutes long. I'm not freaking out about that. It's not like a random animated movie. They got a lot to get into. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to this. I'll see it opening weekend for sure. I'll go see Boogeyman probably opening weekend as well. If not, I'll see it eventually. But yeah, it's gonna
I'll
be a
go to
good
the
week for
theater that
movies.
night. Everybody will be going to watch Spider-Man. I'll be the one
Yeah.
person watching the Boogeyman.
Hey, you'll get a
show.
whole theater to yourself.
I'll get a whole theater myself that night. Yeah,
That's the best.
Absolutely. So we'll jump into the second weekend of June where we have 2 more big releases coming out. Again, similar concept. We have some counter programming, the blockbuster, and then the comedy this weekend. We have Transformers Rise of the Beasts, which is the 7th overall entry in this live action franchise. The film is a sequel to Bumblebee in that it takes place with it as a sequel to that film continuity wise, but it doesn't exactly follow up on it. Instead of Haley Steinfeld, we now have Anthony Ramos in the driver's seat as the human character alongside Pete Davidson, who stars as the voice of the lead Transformer, although you wouldn't know that if you had actually watched the trailers for this movie, because Pete Davidson's not fucking in these trailers, and that's one of the weirdest things I've seen all year. That weekend also has Strays coming out, the live-action animation hybrid, technically animation hybrid, which stars Will Ferrell and Jamie Foxx as a set of dogs who set out to get revenge on Ferrell's former owner, played by Will Forte, as the trailer so willfully puts it, he wants to bite his dick off. So Transformers Rise of the Beasts, I've heard through industry insider reporting that movie is apparently a post-production nightmare. Stephen Cable Jr. is apparently being handed studio notes left and right during the entirety of this post-production. He himself has apparently described this film as utterly unwatchable, and they are racing in the next 6 weeks to get this thing done and dusted.
I heard they turned in like a 4-hour work print, and they're trying furiously to like edit it down, and they're not having very good success editing it down. Like, yeah, it's still just a mess.
Yeah, it is. So it is not looking good for Transformers at this point. Strays, however, I do have a lot of hope for. It's directed by Josh Greenbaum, who is more of a rookie director. His only real release is he directed Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar, which did get good reviews when it came out during the pandemic. But what excites me more is the other behind-the-scenes people. Phil Lord and Chris Miller originally helped conceive this concept, and they are producing the film similar as they did earlier this year for Cocaine Bear. And the screenplay is written by Dan Perrault, who was one of the 2 lead writers for the Netflix series American Vandal, which I've been proclaiming for years is one of the best kind of underground series on Netflix. It only got 2 seasons. They're both kind of individual stories. So the fact that it only has 2 seasons, it wasn't canned too early because they end the story at the end of the season. But I think the fact that it wasn't a bigger success is absolutely criminal. And I've been looking forward to this movie for a while simply because of the talent involved. And it does look very funny. I think the trailers are working for it. What are your guys' thoughts either on Strays or Transformers?
You go first.
So, before we even talked about some of the nightmares going on with Transformers, one thing that sticks out to me as not a good thing is Pete Davidson being the lead and the lead robot Transformer, and you don't hear Pete Davidson talk. That makes me think that maybe he's doing an accent and it's really, really bad. Think of like an Adam Sandler, Sandy Wexler type of bad accent. That worries me too.
So I can say this. I did see it was like in one of the smaller spots that's not getting airplay. There is a clip out there of his voice in the film. Okay. And it sounds like they've heavily modulated it to make it sound robotic. Okay. It does kind of just sound like he's doing his own voice. There wasn't really anything to it outside of it being Pete Davidson. But I agree with you. I think it's a concern that, like, if you read everything that the studio has said and the actual synopsis of the film, the leads of this film are Anthony Ramos and Pete Davidson, and you wouldn't fucking know it based on the trailers because they're like the last big trailer that they put out, Anthony Ramos has 2 lines of dialogue in it, and they're both variances of him screaming, and Pete Davidson has no lines in it, and that's terrifying.
Yeah, and look, I like Anthony Ramos. I like him a lot. I think he's a talented actor. Thought he was great in The Heights. Obviously he did a lot of Broadway stuff, and he's in A Star Is Born as well, I believe, as
yes,
Lady Gaga's friend. I like him. I think he's a talented actor. I feel bad for him that he's in this big blockbuster movie that he gets to lead, and it sounds like it's a big old piece of shit. And I'm sure he's good in the movie. I'm sure he's fine, but yeah, hearing about all these nightmares, like I was looking forward to it because I liked Bumblebee. It's a shame that this movie is not gonna. It looks like anyway, it's not gonna end up following the or quality of the first Bumblebee. And why is Haley Steinfeld not in this movie? Just bring her in, get her involved. Why not? I'm sure she'd do it.
The only reasoning I can think of
it's like same place.
It's set. Apparently, it's set in the 90s, so it's at the very least like 6-7 years in the future. If it's the early 90s, to be fair, she doesn't look like she's aged 6 or 7 years since then. So maybe that's it.
I thought Bumblebee took place like 90, 91, but maybe I'm mistaken.
No, it's in the
maybe
80s.
It is 80s. Okay. I don't know, but I am a little worried about this movie now. I'll go see it. Maybe it will be like World War Z, where they had a whole bunch of horrible production issues and all these issues, and ends up being a good, decent little flick. Maybe this will end up being a positive movie. Won't be the worst Transformers movie that we've gotten. I think we can be confident about that. I'm sure 3 or 4 of the Michael Bay Transformers movies will end up being worse. But Strays looks great. I'm excited for it, and they showed some stuff at CinemaCon that they haven't released yet that is apparently really, really funny. I'm excited for that. That's what I'm going to go see first. I'm going to go see Strays. Let everybody else go see Transformers, and I'll go see it like a Saturday morning or something when nobody's there.
Yeah, Transformers I tapped out on after Age of Extinction. I'm pretty sure that movie's still going on right now. That was the longest cinema experience I've ever had in a theater, where I was just like, please, God, end. Just end. So, yeah, I tapped out. I didn't watch last night. I didn't watch Bumblebee. I still don't believe everybody that says Bumblebee's a good movie. I don't believe you.
It is, but
I don't believe you.
It's the Leica guy.
And then this one, even though it's the guy who directed my favorite Creed movie, Creed 2, is my favorite out of those 3. So that put my interest on, but now that I'm hearing the things coming out about how much of a disaster it is right now, I'll give a wait and see attitude on that, and I probably won't even see it in theaters, because these movies give me a headache too. So it's
and I feel like I should say, because we had a comment in here from Chris about basically saying that Travis Knight is the only one who can direct a Transformers film, the director of Bumblebee. I don't think it's fair to pin this on Stephen Cable Jr. From everything that I've heard, it is studio interference. It is the studio, the way that they've handled the production and their communication with him, that's leading to a lot of these issues. The 4-hour work print thing is something that I've read as well, but what I've seen is that apparently the issue with editing it down is it's editing it down to also something the studio will accept. They seem to want to be very involved. I think the reason Travis Knight got away with making the best film is because the studio was the least involved they've ever been, and Bay wasn't involved directly either. And let's be real, he is the problem with most of these films. So it's why he got away with a better film. Sorry, did you have any thoughts on Strays? Or
no, Strays is, my only issue is that they've attached that trailer to like every rated R movie I've seen in the last 3 months. So it's in danger of being overexposed to where it doesn't make me laugh anymore, I've just seen that trailer.
I want to bite his dick off.
Yeah, I hope they haven't shown all the highlights, because the trailer pretty much gives every beat by beat the movie away too, which is worrisome.
You see everything except them actually biting his dick off.
Right. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that will happen in graphic detail if it's rated R. So I hope. Yeah. No, I mean it's rated R, so we don't get a lot of rated R comedies, so I'm interested in that aspect. It's rated R, Homeward Bound, meets a some kind of raunchy comedy. I'm fine with that. So yeah, I'm the same way. That Thursday night, I'll be watching Strays, and I'll see the clusterfuck that is Transformers later, or if at all. So we'll see. Yeah,
fair enough. On the weekend after, we got 3 films
did you
coming
talk about
out.
Flaming Hot drops on Hulu, and that sounds interesting in the vein.
Oh
of
yeah,
Blackberry
I heard that's
and
really
Air
good.
And all. It's the Eva Longoria movie about. It's dropping on Hulu, I think. It's like the story of the Flaming Hot Cheetos and the janitor that came up with the idea. It's like another business-ish, true story-ish kind of movie that drops on that same weekend on Hulu. I'm more
really
interested.
good things.
because again, it's another movie that seems up my alley. I like these sort of businessy kind of movies
Mhm.
more than anything. Because I love Air's one of my favorite movies of the year so far. And,
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, it's like I have a schedule in front of me too that included that, and I just wonder. I guess you didn't have it.
I was going to say, fair enough. Mine actually doesn't have it on it, so fair enough.
Yeah, no, it
sounds interesting.
Sounds interesting. Yeah, it's just about this little story about the guy who actually came up with the Flamin' Hot Cheetos idea. So yeah, interesting.
Cool. Yeah, absolutely. I think as long as they keep making those movies good, then they're interesting to watch because it's always
think
cool
they're fun to watch. They're
them.
always kind of period piece things set in some time period that's fun, and if they're told, I mean, again, they don't have to be 100% accurate. The movie obviously is going to stretch certain things to make it more exciting, but I'm always fascinated by these things. I like them.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll go to the next weekend, June 16th. We have 3 films coming out that weekend, as well as the next sort of big streaming film that comes out. We have Pixar's first original concept film returning to theaters since 2020 with Onward in Elemental, which has been described as a basically Pixar's attempt at a rom-com of sorts, starring the likes of, I know it's Sam Richardson, and I forget the woman's name. Or is it not? No, it was Sam Richardson at one point. It's Mamadou Abthi and Leah Lewis.
Yeah, Leah Lewis.
Are the 2 stars. And then we also have The Blackening that weekend, which I first heard about nearly a year ago when it debuted at a festival. This is from director Tim Story, who actually delivers a good film this time around, apparently, with The Blackening being sort of a parody of what you expect from Black people in horror films. Basically, a group of Black people all go out to the woods. A killer shows up, specifically a killer with a crossbow, and it is their attempts to play off of the stereotypes of Black people in horror films in order to survive the night. The first bit of piece I saw from this movie was I saw the poster got put up in a theater because I think at one point it had a different release date, so the poster was up early, and it's just a lineup of all the cast members with in bright red the tagline, we can't all die first, which was when I went, okay, that's okay. Which apparently this movie is very good.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. Yeah, as a horror guy, I think.
I was gonna say.
Yeah.
We also have that weekend The Flash coming out, of course, the long, give me a minute, long in development DC film. I still don't believe it's actually a movie until it's in front of me playing, but it's finally coming to theaters, apparently June 16th. And then that weekend as well, we also have the release of Extraction 2, the sequel to the Chris Hemsworth Netflix action film from a couple of years ago, produced and written by the Russo brothers. I'll just say about The Flash, at this point, I'm all out of fucks to give, if I'm being honest. About this movie specifically, the trailers do look interesting. I don't like how Batman keeps being used as, like, just a fountain of... Yeah, you're good, Matt. Go ahead. I don't like how Batman just keeps being used as a fountain of... like taglines. Like the first trailer was "I'm Batman." This newest trailer was, you want to get nuts. Let's get nuts.
Robert Meyer Burnett said in context of the movie, it works.
That's fair. I just the marketing of it I don't enjoy particularly.
Right. No, the marketing is all member berries of Michael Keaton's Batman.
Right. But truthfully, this movie's been in development for so long. There have been so many creatives that have come through this film. At one point, Rick Famuyiwa was in charge. At one point, Lord and Miller was in charge. At one point, the directors of Dungeons and Dragons, Goldstein and John Francis Daley were involved. They're actually still getting a story credit on this film. Apparently, their screenplay was the one that was kept and worked off of for the final film. And if I'm being honest, as much as I like the It films, Andy Muschietti is the director I'm interested in the least. So while I hope he delivers a good film, and I believe he has delivered a good film based off the reception to it, I won't care until it's in front of me and it is a good movie that I enjoy. It's been around for so long, it's had so many delays. Then when you account for all the outside drama connected to Ezra Miller, I'm out of fucks to give for this movie. I just hope it's good when I finally see it. What are your thoughts on anything that weekend? Obviously, you said you're excited for The Blackening. You don't strike me as a guy who's excited for the Pixar rom-com, but maybe.
No, well, in most Pixar movies, I've gotten caught up on them, and because we did a tier ranker on our channel, and I found some of the more recent ones that I hadn't seen, like Turning Red, and and what's Luca, things like that. But yeah, none of them have really blown me away. I think since Coco, so it's like, we'll see. I think it could be at least interesting concept of these cities and stuff and how they work together. So whatever, it's fine. But as opposed to you, Flash is my most anticipated movie of the summer. I can't wait for
Fair.
this.
And we've talked about this, I think, before.
Yeah, no, I already called my spot on that spoiler
That review show. Yeah.
Yeah, I said don't exclude me from that because and it's for me.
I have a feeling I have a feeling we're gonna have a reunion of this show with you and Madi back here for that.
Yeah,
so.
right. So I'm an '89 Batman guy. It is one of my favorite movies of all time. Period. I had the box set when I was a kid of those first couple of Batman movies. I watched that movie. I could recite it start to finish. You know what I mean? Like I love that movie. It has a special place in my heart. It's still my favorite Batman movie. So like even just getting to see Keaton back in this role, he looks like he's having fun with it. He looks like he's into it. Like and they're gonna pay respect to that. It's cool. And you know me, I'm a Snyder guy. So like, and I know it's not a Snyder movie, but it looks like a Snyder movie. It feels like a Snyder movie. It has that aesthetic. A lot of the shots in the trailer look like something out of BVS or his Justice League. Even the stuff where he's like getting zapped with the light, it looks exactly like a Snyder movie. So I think his hands are still in it at some end or another. But it feels to me like it's going to be the actual send off of kind of the Snyderverse. I don't know how much Aquaman's going to have anything to do with anything else. It seems like this weird black hole of a something. You know what I mean? Like I don't know what it's going to be.
It feels like Blue Beetle being released after this makes sense because apparently, as long as the movie is successful, Gunn wants to actually keep that around because it is already so disconnected.
Well, and even if they mention Batman, it doesn't have to be that Batman.
This
it could
Batman,
be like another one.
But
it could be the new one. Yeah,
Aquaman should have come out before this movie.
Yes.
It just feels weird that like
It's
something that's being pitched as the conclusion to all of this has a in-universe sequential sequel following it.
Because this one just feels like the conclusion, given the fact that they're going back to the events of Man of Steel, bringing it kind of full circle. You know what I mean? Like it feels like a proper circle around wrap up. And if it was, I'd be fine with that. It makes me sad as a Snyder fan to not be continuing this universe. I mean, that's another discussion for another day, but like I won't get into it.
Which we'll probably have.
Yeah, we'll have that discussion at some point. But and Madi will probably point because he's right on board as I am with that. But yeah, it's just like I'm just hoping for a good movie. The positive reviews, I know it's a CinemaCon thing, so like everybody's hyped to be there and they're seeing it a month and a half early. But at the same time, Aaron, the fact that they showed this movie a month and a half early gives me hope that like
that's confidence.
It is actually good. That's confidence. Like that's real confidence. It wasn't just because if they weren't, they would have done the thing that all of them do. Here's a 20-minute sequence from The Flash. You know what I mean? Like they wouldn't have shown the full movie.
If they played this movie and it was like, let's just say, even if it's a 6 out of 10, right? If they played this movie and it wasn't even that good, could you imagine how much it destroys the build up around this film? Because again, even people who don't pay attention to CinemaCon in the way that I was, obviously we never ended up doing the show, so it didn't matter anyways. But I was watching CinemaCon news all week, taking notes down for the stories of the weekend. People who don't care about CinemaCon heard that people watched The Flash and had an overwhelmingly positive reception. If it was negative.
No, they wouldn't be able to recover fast enough from that. But I think that's why, the movie's still coming out and why they didn't just dump it, because I think it's got a chance to still make a good amount of money. Will it break $1 billion? I don't know. I don't think so. But I think it could be successful though. It could make a decent amount of money if there's enough people like me who get enough out of it and see it multiple times, like I anticipate I will, I think it'll be pretty good. If the word of mouth is good, word of mouth ones tend to do pretty well. And we'll see how it ends up when it actually comes out. I mean, it's, it's still my most anticipated. I'm into it. I want to see it. So, and I feel like it'll be my proper send off. Aquaman's going to be just like I said, this weird anomaly at the end of the year.
Aquaman is like the weird extended post-credit scene to all of this, where you're just
extended epilogue where it's like I don't need it, and like Amber Heard within is weird. Like the fact that they didn't just go ahead and just cut her out of the movie or recast it. It's weird. I don't know. Like that one feels like the movie that they could probably dump off the schedule, and I don't think a lot of people would be missing it too much. So
the only reason under the old regime, well, let's be real. The only reason that Aquaman's not getting dumped into a streaming service is because it made $1 billion the first
no,
time
that's
around.
their one hope is that movie.
Their
Nobody
hope.
nobody thought that movie was going to make $1 billion, and it made $1 billion. And it just
So that's
did.
why it's getting.
Yeah.
But like, especially under the old regime, like if AT&T is still in the company, this movie is getting dumped on HBO Max. There's no way this
Right.
movie actually goes to theaters if the hype around it is not positive.
Right.
Which from what I'm hearing, it's not. That movie's also been a nightmare in editing. So
sure.
We'll see what happens. We'll go ahead and move on. For what it's worth, the other big film that weekend, Elemental. I like Pixar. I want good work to come from Pixar. This movie looks interesting, but I think this will be a case of it's such a niche concept that I think I just have to see the movie and hope it's great, and that the marketing's not going to do a good job at like selling it.
Yeah, they had that.
I think this movie's going to bomb, unfortunately.
No, they had the trailer attached to Guardians. It looks watchable, but it didn't really catch me. And yeah, it's sandwiched in between all this other stuff, which is going to hurt. It's just not going to make that much money. There's a lot of stuff that's sandwiched in here that I think is going to suffer. We'll talk about one that I think is going to suffer at the box office because of where the release date is in a few minutes. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll jump into June 23rd, the next weekend. We got 2 more films coming out. Wes Anderson's latest flick, Asteroid City, hits wide release. It's being released in the limited, apparently a couple weeks beforehand, but it'll go wide on the 23rd. The movie Asteroid City is a poetic mediation on the meaning of life, telling the story of a fictional American desert town circa 1955 and its Junior Stargazer Convention, which brings together students and parents from across the country for scholarly competition, rest, recreation, comedy, drama, romance, and more. This movie, of course, boasts a cast that is worthy of Wes Anderson because the man just only knows how to put together big casts, including the likes of Adrian Brody, Bill Murray, Tilda Swinton, Tom Hanks, Scarlett Johansson, Margot Robbie, Bryan Cranston, Jeffrey Wright, Liev Schreiber, and Jason Schwartzman, among others. That weekend also has No Hard Feelings, which sees Oscar winner Jennifer Lawrence step into the realm of R-rated comedies. She co-stars alongside Broadway actor Andrew Barth Feldman as an Uber driver desperate to make money, so she takes up a Craigslist ad from some rich parents, one of which is played by Matthew Broderick in a return to anything going to theaters. Good for him. And these parents want this woman to date the shit out of their very intelligent but very socially awkward son and give him sort of an adult experience before he goes off to college. I'm going to be honest with you. Maybe aside from Strays, like if we're taking the blockbusters out of the equation, that movie is the one I'm most excited for this summer, just because it has been so long since we've had a comedy like this, like just a straight comedy like this go to theaters. And the fact that not only is it a straight comedy that genuinely looks in its actual trailers, the fact that it's got good talent behind it, because it's written and directed by a guy named Gene Stupnitsky, who wrote and directed Good Boys with Seth Rogen. He also wrote Office Christmas Party, which wasn't a great film, but I did think it was funny. And the fact that I like the fact that it's not PC. Like, this feels like a 2000s comedy plot of parents hire back then it would be like probably MySpace or some shit, but parents hire a woman off of the internet to date and fuck their teenage son, barely 18-year-old teenage son, so that he's an adult going off into the world, and she's just desperate enough to accept it. Look, this movie could still suck. They did show footage at CinemaCon. This was one of the movies that got that. Here's 15 minutes of the film. They didn't play the whole thing, but the movie apparently got the biggest laughs out of all of the comedies that were presented. So I'm hoping to God that it is good. Matt, if you want to touch briefly on The Flash, just because we've already moved on from it, but we're on to No Hard Feelings in Asteroid City.
The Flash. It's a movie with Ezra Miller. I heard good things about it, which is obviously a good thing. I don't know. Michael Keaton, I'm sure he's gonna be great in this movie. I do like the Supergirl that's probably only gonna be in that movie and won't carry over to the DCU. I just hope that James Gunn and them make the right decision and not bring back Ezra Miller, because if Ezra Miller comes back, this will be the last DC movie I see.
They're not. For all indications, though, it was just because this was filmed like 4 years ago.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
you
think
know.
they're going to either. But I
No.
mean, you never know. Like
And
they
as
all
we've
just been like, never
seen,
say never.
as I said this a couple weeks ago when the trailer came out, for everybody out there who is like demanding a boycott of this movie because they didn't recast Ezra Miller, watch the trailer and tell me logistically that you can recast Ezra Miller and reshoot this
In
film
2
for a moderate
parts.
budget.
Yeah, who and all by indications are in the entire scene in every movie. You know how much of a nightmare that would be? That's another $200
Like,
million.
this
Right
isn't Kevin Spacey having 15 minutes in a film that
in
you
that
subbed
one,
out with
yeah,
Christopher Plummer.
it's not the
Yeah.
same thing. You can't.
Not the same thing.
No.
So then, Matt, what are your thoughts on either No Hard Feelings or Asteroid City?
Asteroid City looks like a Wes Anderson movie. It's pretty much what
Yes,
you
it
would
does.
expect from a Wes Anderson
Of
movie.
all the Wes Anderson movies, this looks like one of them.
Yeah, it looks like a Wes Anderson movie.
That was my
Surprisingly.
review of that. Was it the French Connection? Is that what it was? No, not the French Connection. What the fuck was that movie called?
The French Dispatch? Is that
The
what
French
it was?
The French Dispatch. That
Yeah.
was my review of the French Dispatch. It feels like the most Wes Anderson film you will ever fucking see.
Yeah. And then No Hard Feelings. That is the Jennifer Lawrence
Yes.
movie. All I can say to that is, Matthew Broderick killed 2 people in 1990 something overseas and still hasn't been in trouble for it.
Jesus, man, you got it. All right.
Look it up.
Also, I
know.
also because it's been a running joke. I have to continue the running joke of I, a fully grown man, have seen the High School Musical show on Disney Plus. The only other screen role that this kid from this movie has been in was he actually was a guest star on that show in a couple of episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And for what it's worth, he was probably one of the funniest things in that season. He wasn't really a character. He played, because he's a Broadway theater actor by trade, he played a French exchange student who was basically just there to be comedic relief.
Yeah.
And he worked. So the idea of his first film being this just balls to the wall R-rated comedy, I also kind of appreciate because I didn't think he was funny on that show.
Yeah, I've heard good things from, all the footage they showed at CinemaCon. I've heard Jennifer Lawrence really does go all out in this movie and she doesn't care. She'll joke about whatever. A little creepy, sure, but you got the, brother from the bear in it too. And that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, what's life without something that's a little creepy, right?
Yeah.
All right, so we'll move on to.
I was just gonna say, no, Asteroid City, like you said. If you're all in on Wes Anderson at this point, or if you're still watching his movies, I'm sure you'll like it. But I'm not a Wes Anderson guy. The best Wes Anderson thing I've ever seen was the SNL horror parody called "The Midnight Coterie of Sinister Intruders" that I want to see a full version of. That looked, because it was a parody of Wes Anderson, yet it looked exactly like something Wes Anderson would do for real. And then No Hard Feelings. You talked about the other 2 movies that guy did, Good Boys and Office Christmas Party. You know what the thing about those movies was? That'll probably be this. They were both really funny. You watched them once, then you never watched them again.
Probably.
That's probably what it'll be. It'll be a funny one-time watch that I'll never watch it again. Yeah.
If you make me laugh the one time,
That's what I mean. I haven't gone back to Good Boys since I saw it in the theaters. It was funny in the theaters, and I have no inkling to go back to it.
The only reason that I remember Good Boys exclusively at all is because I saw Good Boys while I was in Georgia visiting a friend of mine that lives up there. And at the time I still worked for AMC. And I went to an AMC because they can send crew passes to other theaters in other states. So I got the tickets for free. And while I was there, I just so happened to meet the GM of that theater. And he had talked about the fact that they were a trial theater for a bunch of the new hot foods items that they were bringing into the company, which were eliminated 6 months later because of COVID anyways. Mm-hmm. But he offered me free portions of all of them. So I got a shit ton of corn dogs and mini spicy tacos and sliders and shit all for free to eat during that movie with my buddies, which was a lot of fun. But the movie itself is fine. With that said, we'll move on.
I'm surprised they don't do corn dogs. That feels like mini corn dogs.
Mac and cheese bites. Mac and cheese bites was the one thing they kept.
Yeah, corn dogs or do mini corn dogs. That feels like
they were mini corn dogs
snack in theaters.
They were mini corn dogs. Mm-hmm. They brought in. They had specialty loaded hot dogs that they got rid of. They just have regular hot dogs again. They had sliders they got rid of, chicken and beef. They had mini corn dogs, which they got rid of. They had spicy, like Jack in the Box style mini tacos, which they got rid of. They like brought in this whole wave of menu items to try and like make AMC a more premier choice in food options at a movie theater, and then got rid of it all 5 months later.
Mini corn dogs is like a perfect thing for the movies.
Yeah.
So we'll move on then. June 30th, we have the one movie which you guys are going to jump into, but I'll talk briefly about the other two because we have a head-to-head duo of kids animated films this week. We have from DreamWorks, Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken, which comes from director Kirk D'Amico, who most recently wrote and directed the film Vivo for Sony. He's worked with DreamWorks previously on the Croods films. DreamWorks had a fucking banner year last year. The Bad Guys just barely missed my top 20. Puss in Boots, which was like the shock of the year, was in everybody's top 10 list for the most part. It was in my top 5 personally. It went on to become a sleeper hit at the box office. And this is just such the most DreamWorks follow-up you would ever get to a film like that, in that this looks perfectly mediocre and nothing else. And then the other film that comes out that weekend is an adaptation, a live-action animated adaptation from Sony of the book Harold and the Purple Crayon, starring Zach Levi, Lil Rel, and Zooey Deschanel. That's an interesting cast, but this movie is a live-action animated film from Sony, the people behind the Smurfs, and its director is Carlos Saldana, whose entire filmography consists of Blue Sky films, which only get mediocre at best. He directed most of the Ice Age sequels and Rio. So we're having a mediocre battle off for probably third place, because The Flash will still be in second, between these two very mediocre kids films. That said, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Look, I don't hate the fourth one the way most people do. That's probably because I didn't grow up with Indiana Jones per se, so it didn't, even though it is a vast step back, it didn't ruin anything for me in that sense that I think it did for a lot of people. That said, it was still a gross step back. If anybody can make this movie good, I think it is James Mangold. The man is a talent of a director in the prime of his career, and I hope to God this movie's as good as it looks. That said, Austin, I'll jump down to you. What are your thoughts on Indy?
Indy, I'm more curious to see what a Steven Spielberg less Indiana Jones movie looks like. Because the James Mangold thing is the most curious thing for me. Apparently the de-age scene is like the opening of the movie, and it's like 20-25 minutes,
yes,
or something like that. And I'm just curious to see how that'll work, because de-aging usually looks pretty good until they start moving and talking. So no, I mean,
no, you're not wrong.
I'm not wrong. Like, it usually does until they start speaking. And obviously there's going to be a stuntman doing all that shit. So we'll see. But like, I'm really afraid there's going to be time travel in this movie because of the title. Which, if we're jumping to time travel now, and because we ran out of ideas for Indiana Jones, like, I'm really scared about that, because it's Mads Mikkelsen's doing this whole thing where he's like, I'm going to go back and fix what Hitler couldn't do or whatever. And I'm like, oh God, are we going to like literally rewind a time clock back to World War II Nazis, and like Indy's going to be 80-year-old Indy fighting Nazis? Like, I'm really scared of that's with the third act, because I don't think we've seen anything from the third act in those trailers yet. And I'm really afraid it's going to be time travel, and I'm really scared, because time travel rarely makes a movie better, especially in the middle of a franchise, especially when you're 5 movies into a franchise. Like, it's never really a good thing when you're reverting to time travel. So yeah, I'll be there opening day, like a lot of people. I'll see it. I just have like no expectations whatsoever, so we'll just see. And the other 2 kids' movies, I didn't know they existed, so whatever. Who cares?
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Matt, what are your thoughts on Indy?
Look, first off, I can't believe that we just skipped past the Dollar Tree version of Luca and then the Purple Crown movie. It's literally the
crayon, purple crayon.
Crayola crayon.
No, that's copyrighted.
But it's like, yeah, but it's like the meme. Mom, can we go see Luca? Hey, we have Luke at home, and it's literally that movie. It's the same thing. It's like
it looks like Chop Kick Panda.
That pretty much.
The
Yeah, it's the Rob
ironic part
Schneider
of that
one or
is
whatever.
the
Norma
ironic part of that
Bell.
is this movie is not like subvertingly gay like Luca was, because it is a
Yeah.
girl and who's interested in a
Yeah.
guy, but that
Oh,
guy is voiced by
yeah.
Jabuki Young White, who is very, very gay, which is like, okay,
Yeah.
what are we trying to sell? I mean,
I love it, but yeah, those two
yeah, talk about
movies,
the real movie this
wonderful.
weekend.
Yeah, the actual movie.
But Indiana Jones.
Give me 1 second, sorry.
So okay, fine, leave me as I
I'm
get
still
ready to talk
here.
about
I can
Indiana
hear you.
Jones. Okay. So Indiana Jones, I'm automatically gonna have confidence in the movie when James Mangold's directing it. You know, James Mangold, very talented director, so that gets me excited. And the fact that he's gonna be working on a Star Wars movie, that
just
kind of
went to my
tells
fridge.
me, oh, okay. Why not grab one for your from your counter like me? Ooh, look at that! You can't even see it. But the fact that James Mangold is directing a Star Wars movie tells me that he did a good job of this movie, because with Kathleen Kennedy running Lucasfilm, you know, when they have directors for certain movies, if their previous movie's not good, they get canned, and that film either gets a new director or it just flat out gets canceled, like with Josh Trank's
I was gonna
movie.
say, don't talk about Josh Trank like that, bro. That's not.
But no, I do have confidence. It's James Mangold. Harrison Ford gets emotional talking about this movie, and he's not the emotional type when he's in
I
interviews.
don't
He's
think his
very
kids have ever seen him
straightforward.
that emotional.
Yeah, like but it tells me it's gonna be a good movie at the very least. Obviously not everybody's gonna like the movie, but I do feel confident that this is gonna be the one where everybody's like, okay, this is a good send off for Indiana Jones.
Seriously, guys, over under 50%. There's time travel in this movie. I just have a gut feeling.
Maybe a hint of time travel. I think it's almost going to be like Raiders of the Lost Ark, where they open up the Ark and you know the Ark is open for a little bit and obviously gets closed. I think it's going to end to where Mads Mikkelsen is trying to actually get time travel going. He starts it and then it eventually ends, or maybe he time traveled at some point. I don't know. I think a little bit of time travel is going to be involved, but I don't think it's going to be
37.
Yeah,
37%.
anybody in the comments, over under 50% for time travel in the third act of Dial of Destiny.
Yeah, I feel like it's gonna be Raiders of the Lost Ark type of thing, where it's just gonna be a little bit of it. It's not gonna be much, and they're gonna stop him right before it goes too crazy. Because I agree with you. I don't think it would be wise to have an 80-some-year-old
from the
Harrison
franchise
Ford
who already
fight
did Alien
Nazis.
comes time travel.
I mean, there's that, but no, I'm confident though. I like the director involved. I think Harrison Ford is happy with this movie, and that, you know, again, he doesn't really get emotional talking about his movies. So the fact that he's getting emotional with this, it tells me that it did something right for him. Maybe it's him dying. Film, I don't know. Like, I'm so happy I'm dead.
Could be. He likes to kill off his own characters.
That is true.
Contract.
My big hope with this movie, more than like the indie part of it being good, is I hope that they like Mads Mikkelsen has been a part of prior to this movie, 4 different major motion blockbuster franchises. He's played an antagonist in 3 of them, and he hasn't had a decent fucking character in any of them since he played the Chief back in Casino Royale.
You'd have to put a gun to my head to remember like which franchise movies he's been actually a part of.
Oh, I have a good memory.
You have it in front of you, but I mean, like, that goes to show he's this insanely talented actor. But like all the big movies he does, you forget because he was fucking in them.
He was the villain in Doctor Strange. That's not memorable at all. He was Jyn Erso's father in Rogue One. That role's not memorable at all. He was, I mean, Grindelwald's probably the second best from the third Fantastic Beasts film, but that movie so doesn't matter by that point that he's kind of wasted anyways. Like he'd have been better if they just had him from the jump instead of waiting until the third film to get to him.
Yeah.
But because honestly, look, as much as people audibly support Johnny Depp, Matt, you've audibly supported Johnny Depp on this show, and I stand by that fact of the man shouldn't have had his career destroyed in the way that court case did.
Yeah.
Mickelson was the better choice from the get-go. Mickelson was a better choice for that part.
See, I never saw the movie. Just because, for one, I didn't care about the Fantastic Beasts stuff at that point. I was like, who cares?
That's true.
These don't matter. But
before we move into July, which thankfully has far less film, so we'll move through it a bit quicker. I do have to say, I want to pull Peck's comment up here. Shout out to the Apple TV show Shrinking. It's the first time I think I've seen Harrison Ford truly care in a long time. And it's a comedy of all things. He's excellent in the show. It's for anyone who's a fan of Scrubs or Ted Lasso. It's from Bill Lawrence and Jason Segel as well. The show's excellent.
He's so funny in that show too. He's so funny.
Great.
Him and the neighbor's husband. They're the two best in the show.
That's true.
It's like, I can't remember who they're talking to. Like, let's just say Karen. Hi, Karen. No, we don't like Karen. Oh, eat a dick, Karen.
Dick, Karen.
I love that show.
Gail. It's Gail. Eat a dick, Gail.
Eat a dick, Gail. I love it. It's great.
All right.
But yeah, I agree with that comment, though.
We'll jump into July here. July 7th, first weekend, we have two films that could both be good, but they'll probably both just kind of come and go. We have the Lionsgate comedy Joyride, which was another film that got a screening at CinemaCon that got rave reviews. I just have a hard time seeing it succeeding at the box office. And then we have the return of one of the staple horror franchises in Insidious: The Red Door, which serves as Patrick Wilson's directorial debut. He returns alongside Rose Byrne, alongside Ty Sheridan, alongside Lynn Shay from the previous films. The footage that came out from CinemaCon, because that movie also had footage shown, people definitely said it was one of the scarier pieces of footage. The scariest was apparently The Nun 2. That was apparently the one that had people kind of jumping the most. But people said that the footage from Insidious was scarier than certainly something like The Boogeyman, but maybe not as good. So I'm curious to see how that movie turns out in its entirety. Austin, because I know of the three of us, you're the horror guy more so. What are your thoughts on Insidious returning?
I kind of checked out on the Insidious series, like I think on the third one or something like that. I'm pretty sure I saw the fourth one, that last key movie, but I couldn't tell you what stuff was in the fourth one from what was in the second one from what was in the third one. Like, that's one of those series where I couldn't tell you what sequences were in which movie, which monster was in which movie. Those movies blend together to me more than almost any other horror franchise, to where I couldn't tell you what was what. I haven't really loved any of them since the original one. So my only interest in it is the Patrick Wilson directing it. And the fact that it's kind of seems like a wrap up with, is it Ty Simpkins or whatever?
Ty Simpkins, yes.
Yeah, Ty Simpkins, actually, like them keeping him as the actor, like kind of grown up, like in college age. Like the fact they didn't recast him is interesting. They're actually sticking with the actors from the series, like, and he was in the original, and they're bringing it back around. So it looks like Lynn Shay is literally phoning in her part in the movie, from what I can tell from the trailer. She literally Skyped in her role for this one, probably because nobody cared about the fourth one. But yeah, so I mean, if they wrap it up here, I'm okay with it. But this is a franchise that I shouldn't even think should have been a franchise in the first place. But yeah, if you're gonna wrap it up, part 5 seems like, okay, let's wrap it up. Okay,
let's complete, because in a certain sense, it's because, like, from everything I've heard, it's like, because I have seen the first two, and it's like the first one is excellent. The second one is good, but it's clearly a step back. I've heard the third one as a spinoff is fine. Like, it's a good, solid sort of standalone movie. And the fourth one's not really that great, which I haven't seen the third or the fourth one. So this is sort of like almost like, okay, let's complete the trilogy to an extent, and then we'll end it. My only thoughts on this film are, over the course of its production, it's had 3 different titles. At one point, it was just called Insidious Chapter 5. Then it was called Insidious Fear the Dark. And now it's called Insidious The Red Door. And I think all those are horrible titles. Because why would you go with Chapter 5 when you've abandoned the subtitle and then you pick 2 horrible subtitles?
I think if you're going to wrap it up, call it what they call the area. Call it Insidious 5 The Further, or whatever they call it. Or is that what they call it? Whatever they call it in this
I think
movie?
that's what it's called. The Further?
The Further, like the area that they keep going into to try to stop it or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah, so call it Insidious The Further, and like wrap it back around to the original movie and wrap it up with that. Like, I'd be okay with that. Because at least then you're, still reminding people of sort of the mythology, even in the title, you know what I mean? So, yeah.
And then, Matt, if you had any thoughts on Insidious, but also Joyride, you seem to peek up at.
So Insidious Chapter 5, somehow Palpatine has returned, whatever it is.
Darth Maul.
Yeah.
Yeah, Darth Maul in it. I mean, they released the trailer, I don't know, like a month ago. It looks decent, like it doesn't look terrible. It can't be worse than the fourth one.
No.
That movie was really, really bad. Third one is whatever, but I like the first two. I like that they're going back to the original cast, and Patrick Wilson directing is pretty interesting. So I'll see it for sure because of Patrick Wilson directing it, just to see how he is as a director. I'm not really expecting much from the movie, but you never know, I guess. Joyride, I never even heard about the movie, but the buzz coming out of it, saying how funny that movie is, gets me excited for sure. It sounds like it's going to be this year's girls trip,
Yeah,
where
sort of.
that's like the one movie that kind of comes out of nowhere that everybody seemed to love.
Kind of, well, to a literal sense, girls trip crossed with Crazy Rich Asians.
Yeah, that's kind of what it could be. Stephanie Shu's in it, so that's gonna be interesting to see her in it, and see her kind of doing a different type of role compared to what she did in Everything Everywhere All at Once. But I'm definitely looking forward to it after hearing how good the movie is and how funny it is. That's another R-rated comedy where if this movie can
got a
deliver,
bunch of them this summer. Yeah,
it'd be it'd be
like,
nice to have some of them deliver
the
and kind of get back
R-rated
on
comedy
track with that.
Like, because I was talking about this with my brother and sister. When's the last time? Like, I have to go back nearly 10 years ago to think, like, maybe Neighbors or something like that, where we had just a straight up comedy go to theaters. Everything that's come out has either had more of a dramatic edge to it, or a rom-com edge to it, or some sort of higher thinking edge to it. Like, they all feel like they're trying to be something but comedic instead of just being a comedy. Like, even Crazy Rich Asians, to an extent, was like also discussing Asian culture and then the differences of like the classism within it and the specifics of like where you come from and your family, and like which to its benefit, but it wasn't just a straight comedy. And I like that, which for what it's worth, I did a little quick research on the film. This is from written and directed by Adele Lim, who actually co-wrote Crazy Rich Asians. So there you go. She also co-wrote Raya and the Last Dragon, which I was a huge fan of. Also, it comes from Rogan and Goldberg's company, Seth Rogen's company, Point Grey, which I think Rogan has a great touch on comedy, so I'm hoping this is good in that sense. I'm just going to be real. I have not, like, I saw the trailer in theaters, but it was as I was walking into a theater, so I wasn't fully paying attention to it. I don't know very much about the plot. I don't know very much about the cast, but I did see Ronnie Chang in that trailer, and I fucking love that guy. I love his stand-up. I've liked his cameos in films. I think, like, all the stars that have come from The Daily Show, I hope to God that guy is the next one that breaks out, because I think he is hilarious. So anything that he's in, just for the sake of it, helps him out. I'll go,
I'll just say my dad, we went and saw John Wick 4, and they played this Joyride trailer in front of it. And I only usually go to, he doesn't go to the movies a lot. He'll hit me up for something like John Wick or Mission Impossible or Indiana Jones or something like that. Like something he's interested in. Even they played that trailer, and he looked at it and said, I want to see that. Which is saying something, which doesn't seem like up a 68-year-old dad's alley, you know what I mean? But like, even he thought it looked pretty damn funny. Like that's that's saying something. So yeah, hopefully that we're getting a couple of, within the span of a month, like 3 R-rated comedies is pretty cool.
And I hope to God they're all good.
Yeah, they're all just doing something specific, and they're not trying to pull on heartstrings too much.
So.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
We'll move on to the next week, July 14th, and as I was putting together, like, looking up the list of films, and obviously I do have a live list in front of me. As of a week ago, there was only one film dated, as far as I saw, for July 14th, which was Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1, which we can talk about in a minute. But in the last couple of days, a second film has been dated for July 14th. And it's one that someone on this panel has actually seen, because off of, I believe it was, was it Sundance? That was a festival, right?
Yeah, I think it was Sundance.
So off of its very hyped Sundance premiere earlier this year, Theater Camp has landed a midsummer July 14th, 2023 release. Before we get into Mission Impossible, Matt, you have seen Theater Camp. If you want to give your brief thoughts, as you talked about on the show before, but if you want to give your brief thoughts on it again, and what you think about the date that they've given it, midsummer wide release into theaters.
This feels like the perfect time to release it. You got Mission Impossible coming out. This was never going to be like a big billion film. It is always going to be like a smaller, probably make about $100 million bucks, but it's another comedy. It's another R-rated comedy. You have Ben Platt in this movie. Molly Gordon, I believe is her name. She's in the movie. She was in You People. She
Yes.
played the sister in that movie. And speaking of American Vandal, it's the main guy in American Vandal who's in this
Jimmy
too. And it's
Thatcher.
almost filmed in like a mockumentary style where it's him going around, or it's like somebody going around filming this thing. It's really, really funny. It's one of my favorite movies of the year, personally. It is, I can tell you right now, it is my number 7 favorite movie of the year, behind like Air and Creed and Fair Play and stuff like that. But it's a really funny movie. If it's playing near anybody, go see it. I think a lot of people are going to really enjoy it. I think the end especially is so funny. It's like what they build up to this big show that they're doing, and they had to do a last second casting change, and it is one of the funniest things I've seen. I love that movie. It was, I think, my second favorite movie out of Sundance. I'm really happy that it's getting a theatrical release in the summer, because again, it's theater camp usually takes place in the summertime. Perfect time to release it. I think this is going to be one of those movies that a lot of people see when it's out on video, and they're going to watch and be like, yeah, this movie's really, really funny. I think a lot of people are going to, it's going to be one of those Shawshank Redemption type movies where it finds its footing on streaming and rentals and stuff like that. I really enjoy it, so I highly recommend seeing Theater Camp.
Awesome. Well, Austin, while I know you'll be singing and dancing opening weekend with that film, Mission Impossible seems like the one you can say more about right now. So what are your thoughts on, which, by the way, can I just say, hands down, worst title of the franchise so far, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. Why are we doing the Part 1 thing again? Aside from that, what are your thoughts?
Well, because there's going to be a Part 2, Aaron.
Yeah, but just name it a fucking different... Mission Impossible, the final one, maybe.
Well, yeah, but whatever. But here's the thing, though. The fact that Tom Cruise has pretty much come out and said that, because they're filming both these back to back, obviously, like it's all in one. They're just, splitting them up. That he has said this is pretty much going to be his last big giant action movie, because the man's 60 years old. And he's, as much as he puts into it, he's like, it takes a lot out of him as well. Mm-hmm. And he wants to move on to other things, which I'm totally fine with. The man's earned it as far as I could say. And I saw that behind the scenes thing, that they put out that was like 15 minutes, about like that base jumping scene that's in the trailer, essentially, and how much went into that, how he did like 100 skydives, and he actually did the actual base jump like 7 or 8 times, which is literal. He's literally risking his life, because if his parachute doesn't open, we ain't got no more Tom Cruise no more. Yep. Dead. So, and the fact that he can only do that because he's a producer on the movie and he can make his own insurance, essentially. So,
yes.
And it seems like he's laying it out and is going, anything he's ever wanted to do is going to be in these movies. I'm hearing, or at least reading, really good buzz about the rough cuts they've got so far, that it's really, really good. The test audiences are going gaga over it, apparently. And the fact that it's a Part 1 is cool, because hey, it means we could end on a dark note, some kind of cool cliffhanger, going into next year's, summer. And even with the writer strike, if the footage is out there and it's done, it ain't going to delay the movie. You know what I'm saying? Because if they already filmed it and it's finished, then they can still put it out next year, even with all the stuff that'll probably get delayed next year because of the writer strike this year. So, so that's encouraging. And it's probably my second most anticipated movie of the summer, probably right after Flash, for sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. So we'll go into the next weekend, July 21st.
Hey, Matt, what are your thoughts on Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1?
Sorry, Matt. Go ahead. What are your thoughts?
Oh, thank you. No, I'm definitely looking forward to this movie, and I'll tell you what, if this movie is about as good as Theater Camp was, this is a great weekend for movies. It really will be a great weekend if this ends up being about as good as Theater Camp. But Tom Cruise, the reason why this is going to be the final, well, Part 2 being the final big action movie he does, is because he will be dead, because he's going to do something that will probably cut him off. I mean, he's got that one where he's going to space.
He's
I think
literally
the
going to
same
film
guy.
a movie in space.
Yeah,
and
he's
it's the
doing
guy
another
that.
thing in space.
Yeah,
So it's
I
like,
mean, but also
But the
he
thing is
actually literally
that
wants to do the Les Grossman movie, which I'm all in favor of.
me
Please,
too.
for
see
God's
the
sake,
thing
make
is
I
that
need
he,
it.
movie.
he's gonna go
Yes.
I
he's
need
gonna
it.
go to space, but
Yes.
that's gonna be just like a family drama set in space.
Yeah.
It's not actually gonna be an action film.
But still,
We
getting
bought a
there,
moon instead of.
something he's still got to get to space, and something could happen on the way there. So I mean, it's
That's
still
true.
risking something, him
That's
actually
true.
going
True.
Let's
to,
say
to, to film something.
it's gonna be a family drama instead of We Bought a Zoo. It's gonna be called We Bought a
No,
Moon.
see, here's the thing: they're going to get up there, and
Mhm.
in the thing, he's going to go. You know what? I've always wanted to do a spacewalk. Send me out in space on a tether, and I'm going to do some
Yep.
crazy stunt while I'm up there, and just learn it on the fly. And he's going to read the NASA book on the way up there, and learn how to do everything. And he's going to start piloting the ship and doing crazy shit while he's up there, and turn it into an action movie on the fly. So, we'll see what happens there. But yes, do whatever you're going to do, Tom Cruise. Then just make my Les Grossman movie, and I'll be
Yes,
happy.
please.
Man. Yes,
That's what I need.
Yes.
All right. So now we'll go on to the next weekend. By the way, the only reason I have nothing to say about Mission Impossible is because I've never seen any of them. I actually plan on watching them all over the summer in order to see this. Yeah, it's just one of those franchises, never seen an injury in it. So with that said, we'll go to what has been billed as the ultimate showdown of the summer, July 21st, because we have Universal releasing Oppenheimer, however you want to say the guy's name, Christopher Nolan's next film, a biopic starring Cillian Murphy on J. Robert Oppenheimer, who is considered the father of the atomic bomb, one of the heads of the Manhattan Project that helped develop that film. With seriously, I mean, we got a couple of big ensemble films this summer, but this thing is one of the most impressive cast lists that I've ever seen. Like, down to not just down to how many people are in it, but like the people that are in it. Like, for anyone who was a teenager at the minimum in 2000, in the early to mid 2000s, if you remember a show called Drake and Josh, Drake is busy getting divorced and touching children. Josh Peck is in this movie. In fact, he's got a big enough role that he's in the trailer. And that is insane to me that this is the depth that cast goes to, how many people are in this film. But aside from that, Warner Brothers internally must have said, well, Nolan left us behind because we fucked over directors and he didn't like it. So we need to compete against him. We need to put somebody there that can take down Oppenheimer. And they bring Barbie to the table. Question here for Peck, because I can answer this right away. Are you seeing Barbie and Oppenheimer on the same day? Sir, I've requested that day off work. I am going to see them
Here's
both.
the thing. I have Thursdays off as part of my just set schedule now, that what I do for my job. So I like the fact that, just as a side thing, I like the fact that I got to see Guardians at 3:00 in the afternoon on a Thursday, by the way.
As did I.
Because I love that these, they're doing these really early, sneak preview showings where you don't have to wait till 7 or 8 o'clock anymore. Like, they're just doing them in the afternoon. So actually, if they now, I don't see Oppenheimer getting like a 3:00 start, but I could see Barbie maybe getting a 3 or 4 o'clock start. So I might definitely Barbie at 4:00, Oppenheimer at like 6:30 or whatever, or 7 o'clock. I might do the double feature. You're damn right. I might, because I'll watch both of them. Mainly because I just don't know what the hell Barbie is. So I might just go see it just to be like, what the fuck is this movie? I still don't know from the trailers what
hold up. Just for the sheer, I'm going to go to Matt first. What are your thoughts on these two films?
Look, for those who don't know, I feel like Christopher Nolan is a little overrated. I didn't like Interstellar at all. Dark Knight Rises, I didn't like at all. Dunkirk was a pretty good movie. I didn't get floored by it, but it was pretty good. And Tenet, like, I still can't really process Tenet. It's a good movie. I just can't process it. I'm not smart enough to process it. But Oppenheimer looks great. The trailers are fantastic. Obviously, everybody's in this movie, including me, and my neighbor are in the movie as well. But Barbie, for some reason, I just have a feeling I'm going to come out of Barbie enjoying that more. I just have a weird feeling that's going to happen. Even though I wasn't too big on the trailer, I just have a feeling I'm going to actually come out and say, yeah, Barbie was actually not bad. I really enjoyed it. Michael Cera. Does Oppenheimer have Michael Cera? No. Barbie wins.
I don't. I think I'm gonna go see both on Friday. I don't think I'm gonna be able to do it on Thursday because Oppenheimer, knowing Christopher Nolan, it's gonna be 4.5 hours, and Barbie, I can wait a day to see Barbie. I'm looking forward to both of these, but yeah, it's an interesting opening weekend. Just like Brian said in the comments. Ooh, look at that, I could bring it up too. This is like '08 with The Dark Knight and Mamma Mia. Ooh, there.
Well, this is bigger. The Dark Knight was always going to beat Mamma Mia. Austin, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, Barbie, I'm just interested in because I just don't know what it is, but it looks like something, even just visually, like it looks interesting, and I like the cast. But yeah, Oppenheimer, I did love like stuff like Interstellar and Dunkirk, and I love the Dark Knight movies, and I don't like everything he does. I'm not a fan of Memento. I don't like Memento at all, and I did not like Tenet because Tenet visually was stunning, but again, I think Christopher Nolan understood what he was making, and he didn't clue anybody else in as to what the fuck he was making. So
Yeah.
I don't understand a lick of that movie, and neither did anybody else. So I'm more excited that Nolan's making more just a straight up kind of historical drama. Like just a historical sort of biopic drama. Apparently, he's doing cool stuff with color in the movie, where some of it's going to be like in black and white, and some of it might still be in black and white, but like the bomb is color or so. I don't know. He's going to do some cool like color stuff in this movie, which I'm excited for just visually. I wish I still had an IMAX near me. I don't where I live right now. It's like an hour away. But if it's good enough where I see it and I want to, I might make a Travelers One about an hour away from me. But yeah, like the cast is insane, as you said. Like everybody is somebody in this movie. And I think it'll just be a damn solid movie. I don't see how that could at least go wrong with it just getting kind of a more grounded film, at least that I can understand. And if this movie doesn't end with him doing the Bhagavad Gita quote that he really did, the interview where he talked about now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds, like if that movie doesn't end like that, I don't know how else you end that movie because that's pretty much like one of the most famous things ever.
My thoughts on the films are just for the sake of setting the scene here. I'm just going to read the cast lists of both films just so we can get an idea of how many stars are going to be debuting on the screen this weekend in both of these films. Because with Barbie, you have Margot Robbie, Ryan Gosling, Kate McKinnon, Issa Rae, Alexandra Shipp from the latest X-Men films. You have fucking singer Dua Lipa's in this movie. Simu Liu, Chris Evans' brother Scott Evans, the new Doctor Who, Ncuti Gatwa, Michael Cera, Helen Mirren, writer, director, actress Emerald Fennell, Will Ferrell, American Ferrera, John Cena, and for any Cheers fans out there, Rhea Perlman's also in this movie. And then if you want to go over to Oppenheimer, Cillian Murphy, Emily Blunt, Matt Damon, Robert Downey Jr., Florence Pugh, Rami Malek, Benny Safdie. For any Sky High fans out there, Michael Angarano is in this movie, the lead from that film. Josh Hartnett, Kenneth Branagh, Dane DeHaan, David Krumholtz, Alden Ehrenreich, Matthew Modine, Jack Quaid, David Dastmalchian, Jason Clarke, Josh Peck, Devin Bostwick for all you Diary of a Wimpy Kid fans, Alex Wolff for all of your oh my god, what's the Ari Aster film called? Fuck. How do I remember all the other references, but I forget that name? Hereditary, thank you. Hereditary, Tony Goldwyn, James D'Arcy is in this. The third most important, or fourth most important Skarsgård, Gustav Skarsgård, Gary Oldman, and Casey Affleck.
James Remar, Jason Clarke, David Krumholtz. Like that's not you didn't even finish the damn list. It's just that everybody who
I didn't finish the list.
Like, literally,
Matthias Schweighöfer, like
every scene in this movie will have somebody you recognize. That's pretty much the point. Every single scene.
It is immense. So
and I do want to say too about Barbie with John Cena. What made me go, okay, this is gonna be a fantastic movie. John Cena movie. He plays a mermaid. They have John Cena playing a mermaid. Like I'm in. Him and Dua Lipa playing mermaids together.
Probably great.
I can't wait. Like, and John Cena's great at just like poking
silly
fun at
comedy.
himself.
Yeah, silly comedy. So
he never takes himself serious, and that's when he's at his best, I think.
Oh yeah.
Besides Peacemaker, I think when he's actually being serious, he's damn good too.
True. So with that said, we'll move on to the final weekend in July. Thankfully, only one movie, so we'll be done with this one pretty quickly. For some reason, of all the films to come out this summer, at the very least right now, Haunted Mansion gets a weekend all to itself. Disney, after a long in development film, originally at one point this film was Guillermo del Toro and Ryan Gosling's. This film now stars the likes of Lakeith Stanfield, Owen Wilson, Rosario Dawson, and Tiffany Haddish, among others. It is directed by Justin Simon, the writer and director of both the movie and the show version of Dear White People. And really the thing that excites me the most out of everything that I've read on this movie is that Disney, when they killed the Del Toro Gosling film, Disney had no intention of ever actually remaking The Haunted Mansion. When they killed that movie, that was the last that they ever thought about doing it. Until they brought in Justin Simon to work on Lando, which is still apparently in some sort of active development. They're just waiting on both his and Donald Glover's schedules to clear up. And it was in the pitch meetings for Lando when they were sort of apparently, okay, this is roughly when we'll be able to do it, and it'll be a couple years out from now when we'll actually be able to get it done, that they asked Simon, do you have anything that you're interested in kind of looking at? And he himself made a pitch for a Haunted Mansion film. Other cast members, this movie stars Jamie Lee Curtis and Jared Leto portraying ghosts from the ride. Apparently other actors will also appear as some of those ghosts. I don't know, man. I'm kind of excited for this one. I like the trailer for it. I like the fact that it feels like they're kind of going for that scary stories to tell in the dark vibe of like kind of a kiddish horror film. Like obviously it's for kids. It's not going to be too scary, but I like that they're kind of going with a bit of edge. I like Dear White People. I saw that movie years ago, like as a teenager. That was one of the first like indie movies I ever saw in a theater, and I thought that movie was great. And it's cool to finally see him make another movie, because after that he just did the show and he's been doing Lando and now finally this. So I don't know, man. I kind of have excitement for it. Look, it's a Disney film. It's a remake. It's an adaptation of something. These all recently seem destined to not do well, even when they're good. Cruella failed financially to an extent, and it was still good. So I hope this one's good. Do you guys have any thoughts, or we want to move on?
I was just going to say there's two other movies that might be that weekend, but I don't know their theatrical status, if it's just limited or whatever. Talk to Me, the A24 horror movie there is a trailer out for it now.
Yeah.
It comes out that weekend. It looks pretty interesting and actually kind of scary. And then the new Nick Cage movie, Sympathy for the Devil, is slated for that weekend as well, with him and Joel Kinnaman. So where he's playing like some kind of mysterious assassin or something that Joel Kinnaman's driving around. Seems like Collateral with Nick Cage, kind of. So, I don't know. Just that looks interesting. We'll see when we get a trailer for it or something what it looks like. That's it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I was going to bring up Sympathy for the Devil as well. I was bringing that up.
I was going to say, I don't have that film at all. I do have Talk to Me listed under limited, but I do not have the Nick Cage one at all. So.
I don't know if it'll go to theaters or not. It might be a small movie, like a VOD movie. It might be.
Yeah.
I don't know, because the guy who is making it looks like he's just made one or two VOD things, so it might be. But I'm just kind of all in on Nick Cage right now, so I'll watch anything he does. So that's all.
Yeah, that one I'll see because of Nick Cage. Talk to Me is one I'm definitely looking forward to. With the guys involved making it. Being former YouTubers. Yeah, being former YouTubers going to actually make a movie that got bought by A24 is cool. And then they're in, I guess, final negotiations to do Street Fighter. I'm gonna go see Talk to Me. I'll find a theater and I'll go see it. This might be one I'll actually make the drive to see to support those guys. But Haunted Mansion, it's probably gonna be a decent little movie. I'm not expecting great things from it. I'm not really excited to see Jared Leto at all. When he's in a movie like Dallas Buyers Club, he's a very good actor. I just don't really care to see him in much else, though, if I'm going to be honest. I'm not a big fan of the Jared Leto at all as a human being. And he was a big part of Morbius, which makes me obviously not like him even more. But, Owen Wilson, I like him. He better do his wow thing in the movie. I'm disappointed he didn't do it in Loki. Hopefully season 2 we get it. But Lakeith Stanfield, I think, is a very good actor as well. Nice cast in this movie. I'll go see it. I'll check it out. Yep. I don't know. Hopefully, it's better than the Eddie Murphy one. Isn't Danny DeVito in it too? Yeah.
Yeah, DeVito's
Danny
in it.
DeVito.
Yeah.
So
It can't be worse than that.
Look, Danny DeVito bumps it up, and he better be in Hercules.
We'll move on to August 4th, which simultaneously features, honestly, probably the most needed sequel of the summer against the least needed sequel of the summer. Ironically, we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem from Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg producing. Jeff Rowe directing, co-director of The Mitchells vs. the Machines. Also, for all you animation fans, he was involved with Gravity Falls back on Disney Channel a few years ago. So he's got some good background and experience in this. The film, for the first time, not only has Seth Rogen calling in every favor he's ever been owed to put this cast together, because good fuck, but we also have actual teenagers. With the most famous of the teenagers probably being Brady Noon as Raphael, who was the star of the Mighty Ducks show that was on Disney+. But these are actual teenagers voicing the Turtles this time around, and not grown men voicing them, which is an interesting switch up. The movies, animation-wise, clearly takes inspiration from Into the Spider-Verse, which I don't think is a bad thing. It does also come from it comes from Paramount, not Sony. I've had that confused, so we'll see how it goes.
That bodes badly for me. It means I can't.
Yeah, say it goes bad for him.
Oh yeah, so for most people except for us.
When I saw the trailer, I said, "Oh, this movie's going to be called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Into the Spider-Verse." Great.
So then maybe we have the movie Austin might go see that weekend, unless he just stays home. We have Meg to the Trench, the sequel to the 2018 film The Meg, finally getting to theaters. We trade in John Turteltaub, who was an inspired fucking pick to direct a movie like this, for Ben, oh god, where's his last name? Wheatley. Ben Wheatley, who's an even weirder pick to direct a film like this. Sure. The movie is based on an actual book that is a sequel, and it does feature a number of cast members in addition to Statham returning, including the likes of Cliff Curtis and others. I don't fucking care about this movie. Anybody care about it? Why is the Meg getting a sequel?
I don't know, but here's the thing. The one thing that's worrying me, we should have a teaser trailer by now of this.
You probably should.
You know, we're not that far away. We're like 3 months away. I mean, I'm not saying there has to be like a full-on thing, but we should have had some kind of teaser trailer for this by now, because it makes me think this movie's not even going to come out, because I've seen no promotional materials for this thing whatsoever. Like none. I have seen there's not even a
poster.
There's not a poster. There's like a fan poster on the IMDb page. There's no plot summary. It just says sequels to the Meg. I have a feeling this movie's going to get bumped. I don't think this thing's going to even come out, honestly. Because I've heard no production things on it or nothing. I've only heard rumors that it's not just going to be the shark. Like the trench is going to open up and put out other creatures that they'll be going against besides the shark. That's the only premise thing I've read about.
Which I believe is the premise of the book they're basing it on. So.
Well, and I was more interested in that first movie when it was going to be directed by Eli Roth. Did anybody remember that?
Oh, yeah.
It was going to be directed by Eli Roth.
This film also had another director.
Yeah, so I don't know. It just seems like one of those like goofy movies. Yeah, I don't know. I'll probably watch it, like, just because it'll be coming out. I have a Regal Unlimited. I'll see this shit. You know what I mean? Like, I'll see a lot of these movies just because I have a Regal Unlimited and I'm using it. I'm using it more than I've ever used it before. I've already seen 23 movies in theaters this year so far. I'm on a pretty good pace. So yeah. So who knows? I'll watch it, but I don't have confidence this movie's even going to come out in August. They might bump it to like October or something, because we should have had a teaser or something by now, or by something official by now. I've seen nothing at all.
Right. I know they showed the trailer at CinemaCon, which I'm surprised it hasn't came out.
Put that
yeah,
shit
I'm surprised they
now.
haven't.
You got to get some buzz going for this thing. It's a summer movie, supposedly.
Look, I'm just seeing the movie to see a giant shark eat a T-Rex. That's all I'm seeing this movie for.
Yeah.
It's gonna be really just super accurate with science and just how gravity works and everything sciencey, how that works. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, cool. I mean, animation, okay. I mean, it could be fun for sure. The movie I'm gonna go see that weekend for sure is Princess Mononoke or Mononoke or whatever. Mononoke, yeah. That's releasing as part of the Studio Ghibli festival where they release a movie a month or whatever. That's what I'm seeing that weekend for sure. And I might go see the Meg or something too. But yeah, the Meg's gonna be dumb. This is like just looking at what's coming out. This is the perfect first week of August release, or just release week or whatever. Just all the movies that are releasing this week. It just feels like the first week of August for
they
every
feel like
year.
August movies.
I don't know, man. I think you're underselling Turtles. I think they might have something with this movie.
I don't think it's. I don't know. I think it's gonna be good. I don't know. The trailer didn't really do anything for me. The animation, I was like, okay, so it's Spider-Verse. But I didn't walk out of this trailer going, oh my God, this looks incredible. It looks like a Nickelodeon movie.
I haven't seen anything that's topped the 1990 movie for me. I'll just say that.
That's fair. Yeah. All right, so we'll go ahead and move on. August 11th, as we get close to the end of the summer, we have 2 more films that come out that weekend.
2 movies I'm really interested in.
For me, the most surprising reveal coming out of CinemaCon, which is Gran Turismo. Now, there is one big factor that is holding me back on this movie, and that is the fact that it is directed by Neil Blomkamp, who hasn't really delivered a great
That's
film.
The thing I'm interested in. I like Neil Blomkamp, so like that's the thing I'm most interested in.
I think Elysium's fine. I did not like Chappie. I actually had the opportunity to see. I got the chance to go to a theater screening of his horror film. I turned it down only because I don't really see horror films in theaters. But I then also heard that it wasn't all that great, so I honestly don't mind that I didn't see it. I have not loved anything he's done truly fully since District 9. I had always kind of hoped his Alien film would get off the ground because honestly, based off District 9, he did kind of feel like a good fit for that.
I wish that movie would have happened. I was so interested when I was hearing the rumors about that and that Sigourney was into it. Yeah, I wish that movie would have happened.
But with Gran Turismo, I thought the trailer did look good, which I can't even say that for Chappie. Like, I never thought the trailer looked good for that movie to begin with. I thought the trailer looks good for Gran Turismo, and this has to be the most ingenious approach ever to a video game film, of taking a story from real life that involves the video game and then making a movie based around that. I think that is an ingenious approach to this. I like the cast in this: Jaimon Hansu, Antonio Banderas, David Harbour. I don't know the name of the kid who's playing the lead character offhand, but all of them look very, very good in this film. That the trailer got me excited for this thing. And the fact that all the stunt driving in it is real. When you see the crashes happening in the trailer, they're all real. It was all practical driving that was done. So I hope to God this movie's good. And Peck does point out something here as well. This is the first time in Blomkamp's career that he did not write the film that he's directing. This is just him serving as a hired gun, which I'm curious to see how that works out. We also have the Last Voyage of the Demeter, which is Universal's second Dracula film of the year. This movie is based on, I believe it's like a very specific chapter or two.
It's one chapter in the original book. It's literally just one chapter, and it ends with the chapter spoils probably what's going to be the end of the movie, but you could go read the chapter and see for yourself. You know what I mean? I don't think it's like a spoiler that this thing docks and everybody's dead. So, I mean, it is what it is.
Aside from that
book,
really the only thing that keeps me interested in this is the talent in it. Andre Orvidal directed Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, which I thought was a good film. We also have a good cast behind this thing. We have the likes of Corey Hawkins, David Dastmalchian, Javier Botet, who I believe is playing the creature in it, I guess Dracula for lack of a better term. And we also have Stefan Kapicic from the Deadpool films, Colossus. So I don't know, man. Look, this could just as easily be a shitty horror film based off a shitty concept, but you hope. Austin, what are your thoughts?
No, here's the thing. Why I'm excited for Last Voyage of the Demeter is a couple of reasons. the premise is cool, and the fact that I kind of know where it's going, but it still doesn't mean it couldn't be cool. But like I like a good one location kind of horror movie where people are stuck somewhere and there's really no escape. If they're in the middle of the ocean, there's nowhere to go. You just got to deal with that shit. But the director, it's not that he directed Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, which I think is still, it's okay, but visually. But he also directed The Autopsy of Jane Doe, which is another great one location horror movie about Brian Cox and another guy stuck in this mortuary doing this autopsy, which is great. And for my money, directed one of the great found footage movies of all time, Troll Hunter. If you haven't seen Troll Hunter rules. And that movie is fan freaking tastic. So I think this dude is a good visual director. I think he does very good sequences. I think he can do very good horror with a little bit of sci-fi thrown in there. So I'm actually really looking forward to Last Word to the Demeter. And yeah, Gran Turismo, I didn't know it was directed by Blomkamp until we did an anticipated tournament over on Movie Hero, and I was doing research for it. And yeah, the fact that it was Blomkamp coming back to like a big movie, I thought was cool because I like Elysium, I like District 9. I don't hate Chappie, I think it's okay. But yeah, like I think he's got a good visual style, and he's a good aesthetic director. And yeah, the fact that it's not one of his stories, he's just directing it, I think it has potential to be pretty damn good. And I like the concept behind it. So Matt, what do you think about these two movies?
Yeah, I was afraid that Aaron was gonna come back on and be like, okay guys, next up we're gonna go to this week. But no, Gran Turismo, I'm definitely looking forward to. I thought the trailer looked really good. I'm glad that they're not just doing some generic race movie. They're actually doing something a little different with this movie, where it's taking a gamer and actually putting them behind the wheel. I think that's pretty cool that they're doing that. The Last Voyage to the Mentor, I like the cast that's involved in that, so I'll definitely go see that. But there's a movie that also comes out. I didn't get a chance to see it at Sundance, but it's called The Pod Generation with Emilia Clarke and Chiwetel Ejiofor. It's a futuristic movie. I think that could be something pretty interesting as well. I heard pretty decent things about that movie from those that saw it. But and then I don't know, Aaron's still not there. Enter the Dragon comes out re-release, so
Sweet.
Gonna go see that.
Enter the Dragon, yeah, no, that's 50th anniversary, right? Hell yeah, I'm gonna watch. I've actually seen Enter the Dragon in a theater. There was an art house theater that when I lived in Jacksonville, they used to do these cool midnight shows on Friday nights of old movies, and I suggested that they actually got a 35 millimeter print of Enter the Dragon, which was kind of beat up, but it was still cool to see it on the big screen. So no, Enter the Dragon's the shit. So yeah,
I'm gonna.
All right.
I'm gonna see that for sure.
Yeah.
I think it comes out that Sunday or whatever. Yep. They're gonna show it that Sunday.
Hell yeah, I'll be there.
All right. So we'll move on. The last couple of weeks of summer, there's only one real big film coming out. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to push them all together, and I'm going to throw them all out there. So we have obviously August 18th. We have Blue Beetle, which is the big one that comes out. This is a debuting hero from DC. A character that not a lot of people know about. Cobra Kai star Xolo Maridueña portrays the lead character alongside a supporting cast that includes Susan Sarandon and George Lopez. Purportedly, again, as we said earlier in the show, Gunn wants to keep this movie around, so it being successful is something they are hoping for and counting on. I guess that remains to be seen until it comes out. That weekend, we also have Please Don't Destroy, which comes out, which is a Universal comedy. Not much is known about it that I could find, except the basic premise is the story of three childhood friends who live and work together. The trio decides they don't like where their lives are headed, so they set off to find gold treasure rumored to be buried in a nearby mountain. That there's not much of a cast that's been released. It's directed by Paul Briganti, whose name I don't recognize offhand. So I don't know very much about this one, unfortunately. We have a movie called The Hill, which stars Dennis Quaid. He gets a film that comes out this weekend. Dennis Quaid, this is also the 18th. Inspired by the true story of Ricky Hill, the small town son of a traveling pastor. The pastor is played by Dennis Quaid. A Sandlot baseball phenom, Ricky defiantly overcomes his physical disabilities and his father's persistent worry for his health to fulfill his dream of playing professional baseball and ultimately transforming his connection with his father. Again, another small film that's probably going to just fall under the weight of Blue Beetle and not make very much money. The week after, this one is an interesting film because we have White Bird coming out. So this movie is a spin-off to the film Wonder from a few years ago, the film that had Owen Wilson and I believe it was Julia Roberts.
Oh, God, yes.
And
now I know
the
what you're
kid,
talking about.
Jacob Tremblay, playing a kid with like a messed up face from a disability. So this film, it's based on a book. It's a spin-off to that movie that focuses on the kid who played the bully, who is like sent away for the summer after getting in trouble for bullying the kid in that film. And he is sent to live with his grandmother, played by Helen Mirren, who tells him stories of her surviving the Holocaust from World War I, as he has a summer romance with a girl he meets who's there. And it's directed by Mark Forrester, who already had a film come out this year in A Man Called Otto. And it's written by Mark Bomback, whose last big screenplay was War for the Planet of the Apes. This is such a weird-ass project.
Yeah.
And it's been delayed for over a year, by the way. It was supposed to come out in 2022 before A Man Called Otto. It got delayed a year to this release date. I don't know why. So I guess we'll see when it comes out. The final to last movie, we have a Blumhouse horror film titled They Listen. No plot has been announced, but it is directed by Chris Weitz, who is not known for his horror films. He's known for being a screenplay writer of films like Operation Finale, Cinderella, American Pie, and Rogue One, a Star Wars story. But it does star John Cho, Catherine Waterston, Ricky Lindholm, and Lukita Maxwell, who had her first big role on Shrinking earlier this year. She played the daughter of Jason Segel on that show. And then this technically doesn't come out in summer. It's the first week of September, but I'm calling this the conclusion of the summer season because it is The Equalizer 3, the supposedly final film in this trilogy by Denzel Washington and Antoine Fuqua, that sees Robert McCall retire to Italy. Really the biggest thing about this film is that it's going to feature him fighting the Italian mob, and it is a reuniting of himself and Dakota Fanning, 20 plus years later, after they last worked together when she was a literal child, and now she's pushing 30. So of those 6 films there, Blue Beetle, Please Don't Destroy the Hill, White Bird, They Listen, and The Equalizer 3. Obviously, there's 2 we know far more about than the rest, but what are your thoughts, Matt?
Equalizer 3, I'm definitely looking forward to. I love the first one. The second one's definitely a step down, but I'm definitely looking forward to the third one. Looks just exactly what you would want from that series. Blue Beetle, really excited for that. That's one of those movies that went from HBO Max to the theaters. Definitely one I'm looking forward to. White Bird, I am confused that this is a movie that's happening, but hey, we're getting it, and we're probably going to get,
I'm
5
fine
more?
with the
Because there's how many
story, but,
books?
why is it a spin-off of Wonder? You don't need that.
There's like 7
because
of
the
them.
book
Like
was.
7 books.
Okay.
We're going to get 6 more. We're going to get 6 more
Honestly,
Wonder books.
Honestly,
The Wonder
my
Cinematic Universe, yay!
my
Wonder
assessment,
Cinematic Universe.
honestly, my assessment of it was exactly what Austin was, because when I first read the plots, because not only was there like a release date set, they put a trailer out over a year ago. You can go find this trailer still.
Yeah.
And I remember when I read the plot synopsis when the trailer first came out, I thought, that's actually an interesting idea for a drama. This idea of a dual story about Helen Mirren as a young girl surviving the Holocaust and her dickhead grandson becoming a better person. And then it's from the people who brought you Wonder comes a spin-off or something. It says it in the trailer, and it shows flashback images from Wonder to remind you of who this kid is, and it's holy shit, they're connected. What the fuck?
It's weird, but we're gonna get 6 more because there's 7 books, so that's cool. But then
at the rate that these things are moving, Jacob Tremblay can come back when he's 30.
Yeah,
Well,
it's gonna all come
Matt,
together
we
as the
might,
big villain.
if they all cost like $10 million and make like $25 million, we'll keep getting them, I guess.
Yeah.
You know,
I wonder
they
how much
make
this movie
a
did
couple
cost.
million profit. I mean, probably couldn't cost that much, could
Yeah.
it? Really?
It might. And
Watch it cost $85 million for no reason whatsoever. Like half of movies
probably.
nowadays do for no overinflated budget.
Well,
It
it
probably
did. It shot in the Czech Republic, so I don't know how cheap
Hey.
that is.
That's cheap.
It's probably really cheap.
That's where
But
like Steven Seagal and Van Damme film all
Oh,
their movies.
there we go then, yeah,
it was
sure.
that in Bulgaria is where they film all their shit. Yeah.
Also, just because I looked it up, a cast member that I list when looking at the original list, for all you X-Files fans out there, Gillian Anderson's in this movie.
Yeah. All right.
Yep, definitely. But I love the first Wonder, so I'll go see this, I guess. The Please Don't Destroy movie, I'm definitely looking forward to because Conan O'Brien's in it, and that's really the only reason why I'm looking forward to that. The Hill,
Okay.
Yeah, he's in it. The Hill, it's another Dennis Quaid Christian movie.
I knew I recognized
he did
that
that
studio.
one that
Oh, the one based on the
It's on
song.
Amazon.
If I can only imagine, he was in that one.
If I can only and
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
a scene where he throws like a plate at his
Oh,
son as a grown man. It is
right in his
so
face.
funny.
Yeah,
It's so funny.
Unintentionally hilarious. Yeah.
I saw that opening weekend with a bunch of
I did
Christian
too,
people.
only because I follow a podcast called God Awful Movies, and they watch bad Christian movies. So I had a run there where I was seeing like every Pure Flix movie that was coming out in theaters.
Those movies are a blessing.
Oh, those
They're
movies are incredibly
they're so good.
amazing.
But it was a full theater of all these Christian like old people and whatnot, and the plate scene happens where he throws the plate, and I'm busting up laughing. Everybody else is super like quiet and serious. And just
that's the best
looking
thing
right
about
at
those
me.
movies is laughing
They're
at the unintentional hilarious stuff and watching you getting like stares like they're gonna want to throw you out of the theater. It's the best.
I got told that I was going to hell by one person because I was laughing, and what was the one? It was the movie that the History Channel did the Jesus movie a while back. They released the part of that series in theaters like in 2016 or whatever.
Whatever it was called, something like that.
And Dennis Quaid's in it or no?
Yeah, Dennis Quaid's in it. But
nowadays it's
I can't
just
remember.
Kevin Sorbo or shit like that. But
I can get that for you. But
I'll try and look.
The Bible is the.
I think it was just called the Bible. It might have just been called the Bible. Yeah.
It was a show.
Yes.
Yeah, it was on History Channel, the Bible, and then they took that part of the miniseries and actually put it in theaters. Son of God is the name. And I laughed really, really hard in that movie. And I was told I was going to hell. And a lot of people said that the devil looked like Obama. And that actually ended up being true. I will pull the picture and show it to you later. But that movie's probably not going to be good. But they're releasing in August a couple more Studio Ghibli movies like Porco Rosso. And I believe The Wind Rises is another one too. Those are getting released as part of that festival thing that they're doing. They Listen could be interesting, but you got The Dive coming out, which is another like movie like The Fall, where it's just it's these people, they're climbing up a mountain. Oh, somebody falls. It's one of those things. It'd probably be a throwaway thing. But
honestly though, I thought Fall was decent. So
it was great.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like one of those type of things, like that.
Like 47 meters
47
down.
feet. Yeah.
But I like a good survival movie, so I'm down.
To be fair, Fall was infinitely better than 47 meters down.
Oh, way better.
But yeah, Austin, any final thoughts on this last couple?
Not much. Equalizer 3, sounds like a perfectly fine way to round out the summer, and that's a perfect spot for it. Like first week of September. Like here's Denzel Washington wrapping up that trilogy, which has been okay. The first one was really good. Second one it's fine. It's watchable. Like the first one's watchable. Second one's they're fighting on top of a roof in a hurricane. Like that's where they went. One, so I don't know. It's whatever. Hopefully this one's a little more grounded. But
Blue Beetle?
Blue Beetle, I'll see it, but it feels like another anomaly. Like I think this one could have been on HBO Max, and I think it would have been fine. I don't think this one needs to go to theaters. It's like I think it'll come out, it'll make $50 million, and it'll be gone. You know, like I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's a fair assessment.
I'm more interested in the star, the Cholo. You know, what's his name? Like, because I'm a Cobra Kai.
Cholo Maridueña.
Yeah, I'm a
Yeah,
Cobra Kai
that.
guy, so I like him. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
about
I
it.
found
At the
I
very
was only
least,
gonna
I
say-
hope this helps his career.
There's one other movie I
I-
haven't seen any traction on. It's slated for this year. It was supposed to come out in June or July. A Looney Tunes movie called Coyote versus Acme. Have you guys heard about this movie?
I believe it got pushed, but I'll find it.
Yeah.
For you.
It's not pushed on IMDb. It still says June or July. But yeah, I hadn't seen anything about it, any trailers or nothing, so I assumed it got pushed. But I was
Yeah.
interested because the premise sounds fun, where it's the coyote. It's like a mix of live action and animation, but
Mhm.
Coyote sues the Acme company for making all these faulty things that don't work, and he gets a lawyer, and they sue the shit out of the Acme company. So it's like a half Looney Tunes movie, half like courtroom thing. I just think it sounds interesting, and John Cena's in it as like the lawyer or something.
Mhm.
So
So
like,
it's
it sounds fun.
so the live action cast. So the story for the film is actually written by James Gunn. After every Acme Corporation product backfired on Wile E. Coyote in pursuit of the Roadrunner, he hires an equally unlucky human attorney to sue the company. Will Forte plays his attorney. John Cena plays the Acme CEO the case is filed against. And Lana Condor from the Netflix films To All the Boys I've Loved Before is also part of the cast. So the film was originally dated in Barbie's position on July 21st, 2023. However, they pulled it and swapped it for Barbie, and it is currently set to release at some point after the summer this year.
Right.
That'd be a perfect family movie for like October.
Right.
Like if they put it in that,
think,
it would be a perfect family film that would make money in like a dead week.
I think what happened is they saw how well Space Jam did and they panicked.
Right.
Right. But this,
because Space Jam did poorly even compared to the other split release films.
Right.
Yeah.
But I like the premise of this. I think it could be really wacky and kind of silly and fun. Yeah. I just love Roadrunner and Coyote. So if half the movie, or at least the first quarter of the movie, is just more Roadrunner Coyote shenanigans, like I'm in, because I just love that stuff. Right. So I'm in. Yeah.
So I found the picture of Obama in it. This is supposed to be Satan. So, like, tell me this.
Not so subtle, Satan.
Like, this is supposed that's Satan. Tell me that is Obama.
Yeah.
That looks exactly.
Well, the movie was made at the time when he was president, so yeah, like that would make sense. They would, like that people would think he's like the Antichrist or Satan or whatever. Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah.
Like
I remember. I went to my grandma's church or whatever, and they have like the adult like Sunday school where the adults, they come in, they'll eat breakfast and just talk about whatever before it starts. They call it adult Sunday school for the kids, so they think, oh yeah, the adults are doing it too, when in reality we're just talking about whatever, sports, whatnot. And there's a couple people like, Obama is the Antichrist and we're in the end times now, and I'm thinking in my head, okay. I mean, I may not know a whole lot about the Bible, but it does say that we don't know. So
at this point, the way the economy's in the shitter, fucking bring on the end times. I'm in. Let's just go. Why not?
Let's get the rapture.
Can it be any worse than anything that's going on right now? Like, who gives a shit?
Send me to my giant house with my home theater so I can watch all these movies that are coming out in the near future.
I can watch Batgirl.
I'll finally watch Batgirl.
I can't bring on the end times of the world, but I can bring on the end time of this show. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for being a part of this. Thank you for everyone who watched. I think there's a lot of potentially really great films coming out this year. It feels like the kind of mantra around this summer is that it's not as big compared to the last couple of years, because obviously 2019 we had like Endgame, which just sort of overshadowed everything. Then in 2020 we didn't have a summer. 2021 it was like, oh, theaters are back. And then last year we had like everything that was delayed 2 years because of COVID come out. So the like general consensus, it feels like people aren't as hyped for films this summer, like amongst the general public. I think there is a lot to be excited about. I think we're getting the return of just the straight R-rated comedy in full force, especially for what's the name of the film? No Hard Feelings. That is a very, very straight comedy. But I mean, come on, isn't it every teenager's dream to want to fuck Jennifer Lawrence? Like, that don't all teenagers dream about that?
And
she's so relatable.
To what you're saying about the coming out of COVID thing or whatever, how is now this writer's strike for however long it goes on going to affect next summer now?
Next year's,
now that we were like kind of
Yeah.
back in normal full swing of things, a kind of normal summer schedule, movies coming out, at least every other week or so, things that we're interested in. And now like whatever was in development now to come out next year, how the hell is that going to affect next year unless there's stuff already in the can? And like, if that's going to screw with next year's schedule, that should be
absolutely
as well. Yeah.
So yeah, guys. So I want to say thank you to both of you. Of course, thank you to Mehdi for being here as always. Thank you to Austin. If you guys want to show him support, go over to the Movie Hero Network where he does a lot of his mainstay stuff. He'll be over there for you. Matt Beer, of course, we have Inside the Horseshoe, which I'm assuming is on some kind of lull right now due to the football season not happening.
Yeah, right now the draft's concluded. I did my draft stuff. Now I got to figure out what the hell to do before training camp and the actual preseason starts and any other news. But I got that, and then also grabbed the remote, which is basically where my reactions go. And I might do like a movie news, like daily show. Think of like John Campia's show, but without the user submitted questions at the end of the show. I might just do that and just to like talk about all the movie news, and then that could be a cool way for Aaron to go, okay, well, here's all this stuff Matt talked about. I don't have to do a lot of research for different stories, just about the ones that sound interesting to me.
This show,
if I ever do it,
great way to spend one of my days working as a sub. Just kids, do your worksheet. Let me research movie news.
Yeah.
No, but guys, thank you, of course, once again for being here. Thank you to anyone who watched. We appreciate it. As I said, we will be back next weekend with a Guardians of the Galaxy spoiler review. And until then, take care, everybody. Till next time. See ya.